talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. With my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. With my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. With my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams.
All right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr._A_Shakur, also on X at DGoddess27. And as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Let me put my spectacles on, honey. All right, so first and foremost, good grand rising to everybody. You all know Diddy has another lawsuit, okay? No surprise, I'm sure. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to be following the updates on the trials and what's going on. Okay, so let's see who's all in here, and then we need to have a word from my sponsor. All right, hey DJ Big Six, Nina's here. Ursula, all right, Pearly is here. Okay, Nubian Cutie, We the People, Anita Harrell, Nessie X, Grave Diggers. All right, let's get into it, Lillian. Okay, Claudette. All right, Sandra. Okay. Hey, the elder Baba Rashawn Live is in the house. Jeff ATL, Ladybug. All right. Gina Jeep is here, or Geep. Okay, so everybody, please hit that like button. I see you, Alice. Eric is in the house. Okay, so let's get it started. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor because you know we have to keep the lights on. All right, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes for your hair at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so we're a little bit behind, so let's catch up to the updates coming straight from the trial. Okay, I started a little bit late today because I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Okay, so I hope I start feeling better. Let's see here. Okay, first let's go to Inner City Press.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here in the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Thursday, May 15th, 2025, we're covering the Sean Combs trial. It's misty out here, but we're going in early. Why? Because after yesterday, the direct examination of Cassie Ventura ended. There could have been cross-examination. It was only 4 o'clock, but they got into a big dispute about what the cross-examination can include. Can it include prior sexual acts? It involved Mr. Mark Agnifilo, lead counsel for Sean Combs, saying, if you were just going to say, are you effing somebody, that's not about an act. It's just a colloquial way that people say, are you cheating on me? And jealousy is a big part of the defense. The prosecutors and lawyers for the victims, including Douglas Wigdor, who was on the scene, said, no, you cannot ask about these prior acts. And there's a specific federal rule of evidence about it. So that it's all very interesting. The problem with it is that they're saying it can only be resolved in the robing room out of the public view. So we're heading in to cover, I guess, from the outside that, but we will be definitely covering the cross-examination in some detail. There's a lot of things going on. We put them up. We put some analysis on Substack. We put some documents on Patreon, and we're going to be back tweeting away. There's also extra subscribers for a little bit of analysis. In any event, this is the big thing here. As you'll see when we get to the courthouse, there's a huge, late last night, there were people camped out in tents and little pods. So it's something else, is all I can say. I was just thinking this morning, imagine if Combs were not in detention, it would be a mob scene with people yelling Diddy in the front. Now, of course, there are other cases, and we're covering them closely. On the New York corruption beat, Sacavino, interestingly enough, the man from the fire department.
Okay, so you all heard that. Now, hold on just for a second. You all heard that they're beefing already. And here's the thing. They don't want, as I told you all before the trial even started, they don't want the defense asking Cassie certain things about her STDs, anything about her sexual history. There's just certain things they don't want asked. Now, they say there's federal rules about it, but at the end of the day, please just let them ask Cassie whatever they want. Cassie's not the one on trial. Diddy is. When they do these things and make these arguments and go back and forth, all they're doing is giving the defense more ammunition to come back after Diddy's convicted, because he will be convicted, in my opinion, but after that to try to file for an appeal and get the case overturned. Okay, I'm just telling y'all how it is. Okay, so let's get into this, honey, because I'll tell you the truth. Did it just go ahead and go on to jail? Go ahead and go into prison, honey, because after all that stuff Cassie said about him yesterday, I don't see how he's getting out of this. Okay, I don't see how he's getting out of this. With that all being said, okay, so let's get into it. Somebody sent me a super chat. Hold on. You all bear with me. The Queen's not feeling so great. I'm feeling forlorn this morning, guys. Feeling forlorn. Oh, that makes me feel better. Pearlie says, love you, Queen. I love you too, beloved. Thank you. And thank you for your contributions to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Trayvon said, get well soon. I'm going to try, beloved. Thank you. My Egypt said, diddler. He controls freak. Somebody said he had a Tootsie Roll. How about that? We're going to get into it. Okay, so let's go to these latest updates. Okay, so from 46 minutes ago, okay, Cassie Ventura's cross-examination begins. All right. Judge says to Mr. Agnifilo, I thought you were going to take his off my plate. I think it should say take this off my plate. Remember, they're in there watching the trial, and when they're sending these updates, they're typing as fast as they can. Okay, so I thought you were going to take this off my plate. Agnifilo says, I will keep trying. This is the main witness. She stands by herself. That said, we have been doing this all night until 3 o'clock in the morning. We flagged exhibits for them. Okay, so honey, they were up to 3 o'clock in the morning. Then they had to be in court. So AUSA Slavic says, there are 24 exhibits that the government has objections to. They're listed in the chart. The judge says, just the ones in the chart? Again, these judicial documents are not going into the public docket, not the case in many other Southern District New York trials. Okay, then Combs or Estavio. Now, Estavio is the one cross-examining Cassie. She says, bring up this defense exhibit. AUSA says objection, not an evidence. Judge says that's true. This is not an evidence. Estavio says, Miss Ventura, read it just to yourself. Why did you send this message? So this is obviously a text or something or an email that Cassie sent. Okay, Ventura says, to let him know I was going to dinner. Estavio says, what was going on when these messages were sent? Ventura says, I'm not sure. Estavio says, what was going on in your relationship then? Ventura says, it was early. We were loving. Estavio said, I offer it. AUSA says, objection, being offered for the truth. Judge says, overruled. Okay, so let's stop right there. So now, as I'm waiting for more updates, let's talk about this nefarious case where Diddy has once again been accused of rape. Diddy sued for alleged rape in disturbing 2001 Manhattan incident. This woman is using the pseudonym of Jane Doe. So a new lawsuit has been filed against Sean Diddy Combs, who's undergoing a federal trafficking trial. So on May 14th of 2025, a woman identified as Jane Doe filed a lawsuit in New York County Supreme Court alleging that P. Diddy raped her in July of 2001. Okay, so now, a report in TMZ stated that she met the rapper in May of 2001 and went out with him several times. They allegedly spent some time together at his Manhattan recording studio, as well as nightclubs and a restaurant. Now, in her complaint, the woman alleged that the incident took place at Diddy's New York apartment, where he forcefully led her to his bedroom. She alleges that he put his hand around her throat and said, I'm going to suck the life out of you. Whew, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? What is Diddy up to? He's always up to something. So she says she stated in her complaint that she had to attend therapy after the trauma that she faced following the alleged incident. What else do we know about Jane Doe's complaint filed against Diddy? Well, according to the lawsuit that was filed against Diddy, the woman who identifies herself only as Jane Doe, who alleged that he raped her, she says he forcefully had sexual intercourse with her. Now, she lodged her complaint. She lodged her complaint in New York County Supreme Court on May the 14th of 2025, which also named Bad Boy Entertainment and other defendants, according to the reports. Narrating her first encounter with Diddy, Jane Doe said that she met him in an elevator with her 3 friends in May. She said that the rapper asked her for her contact number, and she met him the same day along with some friends. So their second encounter took place 2 days later. She said that Diddy attempted to kiss her at that time, but she physically moved to avoid it. She said that he invited her again to his studio in July. She said that they went to a club, but due to a sudden commotion, the bodyguards rushed them out. She added that when she and her friend decided to leave without warning, Combs allegedly berated her over the phone. The two then met again, or on about July 31st of 2001. First of all, how are you berating somebody you just met for a day or two? See, this is where these women mess up, because why are you still hanging out with this creep? Okay, you go in on me because I left somewhere early or whatever. Yeah, I'm not talking to you again. Okay, so the woman and her friend were first called to his studio, after which they went to the Bowery Ballroom where they were given drinks in a private area. They say these drinks made them feel weird. Okay, they were then driven to his apartment in New York, where he allegedly forced himself upon her. After putting his hand around her throat, he released it and held her arm down while using his other hand to swiftly unbuckle his belt and pants. He allegedly ignored her pleas and had sex with her against her will. Nobody's fighting, punching, kicking, scratching, biting, because Diddy's not that big. Honey, Diddy would have got the business. I'm here to tell you. She alleged that he tried to contact her even after 2 days but she didn't answer his calls. She was reportedly also invited to attend one of his white parties. According to the complaint, the woman suffered physical abuse, emotional abuse, trauma, injury, and psychological damage because of Diddy's actions. As per the reports, Diddy's representatives have not responded or commented on the lawsuit. I bet they haven't. Okay, I'm going to go to another report because this one didn't say anything about that Tootsie Roll, honey. Okay, they conveniently left that one out. Hold on just a second. And of course, I'll be reading the legal documents about this at some point. Sometime later on today, probably. Okay, now here's what the New York Post says. Sean Diddy Combs is accused in a new lawsuit of raping a woman with his Tootsie Roll. Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? Some of these publications are so nefarious. Said he raped her with his Tootsie Roll sized Enos with a P. Okay, during a violent tirade inside his Manhattan apartment more than 2 decades ago. The woman, identified as Jane Doe, claimed the Bad Boy Records founder took her to his bedroom where he locked the door, pinned her down on the bed by her throat, and told her, "I'm going to suck the life out of you," after a night of partying in July of 2001. Combs, who was on trial in Manhattan federal court for trafficking and racketeering, continued to hold this poor woman down by her arm as he dropped, throw, and pulled his itty bitty Diddy. What? She said he pulled his itty bitty Diddy. I am so dumb. But remember, somebody said something about this before about Diddy. In one of the lawsuits about him and Aaron Hall, they compared his and said it was prepubescent. Y'all remember? So anyway, the accuser alleged that she was overpowered during the ordeal and repeatedly screamed for Combs to stop. But he instead kept thrusting and eventually released, on her body. All over her body. The disgraced mogul then lay naked on the bed as the woman frantically cleaned herself and rushed out of the unlocked door, where a bodyguard standing outside pointed her toward the exit. The woman, who said she met the star in May of 2001 and hung out with him multiple times at Combs' New York recording studio, nightclubs, and a restaurant, said his staff drove her and her friend home after the alleged assault. Honey, they would have driven me straight to the police station. She said the I'll be missing you rapper called her several times after the shocking ordeal and invited her to his infamous white party, but she never returned his calls. While the traumatic incident left the woman feeling vulnerable and withdrawn, she recalled feeling relieved that she wouldn't feel any pain during the chilling encounter when she saw the length and girth of his diminutive phallus, she's called it, compared it to a large Tootsie Roll. She also claimed that she underwent psychotherapy as the result of the alleged sexual assault. Combs' legal team did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Now, the latest lawsuit comes as Combs' explosive federal trafficking trial kicked off on Tuesday with the embattled record producer's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura recounting in painstaking detail alleged rape, coerced sex, beatings, and other horrors that she endured at the hands of the fallen music mogul. Ventura, who's 8 months pregnant, alleged the rapper forced her to participate in freak-offs during their on-again, off-again relationship between 2007 to 2018. The married 38-year-old mom is expected to be cross-examined by his defense team on Thursday. Combs is accused of trafficking women for sex and during the freak-offs and other crimes. Okay, so, honey, that's all hilarious to me. Okay, let me see if there's any updates. Okay, so last thing was Cassie says you wanted to let him know they were going to dinner. Estavio says, please read. Cassie Ventura wrote, I love you, smiley face. I'll fly anywhere for you. I love you, Cass. Estavio says, this 2009 email, AUSA says objection, hearsay. Judge says, Miss Estavio, ask more questions. Estavio says, from BlackBerry, what is BG? Ventura said, baby girl. Okay, Estavio says, what did you write? Ventura says, you hungry, Pop Pop? Estavio says, and Mr. Combs wrote to you, we are so in love, we don't do anything else. How long had you been seeing each other? Ventura says, like 2.5 years. Okay, so now while we're waiting for more updates, in between, just so you know, I'm going to be showing some videos of what people are saying about the trial and giving some updates and stuff like that. So let's go to this one. Okay, this is a report from News Nation that came out a few hours ago. Okay, so let's get into it.
Nothing could have prepared Cassie Ventura for the wrenching and draining and excruciating 2 days that she just spent on the witness stand, testifying against her one-time love, Sean Diddy Combs. But the next 2 days are going to make the last two look like a picnic. She's about to undergo a cross-examination by Puff Daddy's lawyers. And 9 months pregnant or not, it just may seem worse than childbirth. Since she took the stand on Tuesday, she basically has helped the prosecutors lay out a case against P. Diddy that paints him as a brutal domestic abuser with a sexual kink beyond the pale. Yeah, we heard it. We got it. But what she's really done that's so much more important and so much worse for Diddy is that she has painted him as a sex trafficker and a man guilty of racketeering, the very things that he's charged with. And if his lawyers don't come out swinging, P. Diddy could spend the rest of his life in lockup. So yeah, the stakes are high in this cross-examination of Cassie. At the heart of her testimony, she was claiming that she was an unwilling participant in Diddy's twisted and demanding freak-offs, sex orgies, where she was being sexed mostly. She said that he forced her to hire the male escorts and fly them to the freak-offs. Very key, because trafficking requires you to, somebody needs to pay, get you across state lines, okay? And that Diddy used his own staff members, she says, to prep the rooms and get the drugs if Diddy didn't get those drugs himself. When she wasn't in the mood or when she wanted out, Cassie says he beat her into submission and wouldn't let her leave. These are all very important things I'm going to get to in just a moment. I'm not just giving you color here. I'm giving you really important building blocks for the prosecution. Cassie said he'd also threatened to release videos of those orgies, to pressure Cassie to stick around. And she said Diddy was the boss of it all, the director of the freak-offs, where a lot of this illegal stuff was going on, she said. She told the jury, quote, I feared for my career. I feared for my family. It's just embarrassing. It's horrible and disgusting. No one should do that to anyone. Today in the federal courtroom, she named and identified 13 of those escorts with whom she had sex on video and for Diddy's pleasure, she said. One of those escorts was Jonathan Odie, who happened to be a guest on this show just last night. Odie said he was Diddy's, quote, sex slave as far back as 2018, but that nobody believed him. And to be fair, it may have been because he said it to the police after opening fire at a South Florida golf resort.
Okay, so let me read through some of these updates from CNN. Okay, so an hour and 20 minutes ago, Judge Aaron Subramanian is on the bench ahead of day 4 for Sean Diddy Combs' federal trafficking trial. The prosecution and defense will discuss a text message issue before the cross-examination of Cassie, which is set to begin at 9:30. Okay, so that's the time it started. The jury wasn't there yet. Then prosecutors and defense attorneys are arguing again about what text messages the defense can show that they can show the jury during cross-examination. The defense says it wants to use some colorful text messages between Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs from points in their relationship when Combs thought Ventura was seeing other people. Now, 40 minutes ago, the attorneys were still debating about evidentiary issues, about exhibits the defense wants to show to the jury during the cross-examination. Members of Sean Diddy Combs' family, including his sons and mother, have arrived at the courthouse in Manhattan. Combs is already inside the courtroom. His twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah, were traveling yesterday for their high school prom in Los Angeles area this weekend, so they're not going to be there again today. Cassie Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, is also in the room. Defense attorney Ana Estavio will be cross-examining Cassie Ventura for the defense. The jury is now entering the courtroom. Defense attorney Ana Estavio begins her cross-examination of Cassie Ventura by asking about the couple's love during their relationship. Estavio says, "You and Sean were in love for 11 years, right?" To which Ventura responded, "Yeah." "You loved him?" she asked. She says, "I did." Estavio says, "And you believe he loved you as well?" Ventura says, "Yes." "Honey, Diddy didn't love her. I know she believed it at the time, but Diddy didn't love her. Anybody who would let people do those things to you and in fact do those things to you themselves, honey, they don't give a darn about you. You're just an object for them to be used at their whim." That's all that was. Diddy is just a whole hot mess. Okay, so defense attorney Ana Estavio asked Cassie Ventura if she remembered calling Sean Diddy Combs larger than life during her testimony. Ventura confirmed that she did. "But to you, he was Sean, and you knew the Sean that other people didn't see." This is what Estavio asked, and Cassie confirmed. Estavio asked if Ventura always knew that she was special to Combs. "No, I don't think I always knew," she says. "You sometimes knew?" "Sometimes it's fair," she replied. Ventura's voice was soft, almost a whisper, as she answered the questions. Cassie Ventura confirmed that she was with Sean Diddy Combs for 11 years, despite his flaws, because she believed he truly loved her. "So when he cheated on you, it really hurt?" Estavio asked. She said, "I would say not every time," adding that she spent more time feeling hurt in the early stages of their relationship. Okay, later on, by then, she probably had gotten used to it. The jury saw emails between Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura from January of 2008. Ventura read the emails aloud on the witness stand. Combs said, "It makes me so happy that you would fly to Atlanta just to see me. I'm a very lucky man. I love you. I miss you. Can't wait to hold you." Ventura responded, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you needed me, whenever. I love you." Okay. The jury has been shown a series of text messages between Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura. Ventura testified that one exchange was sent via BlackBerry about 2.5 years into the relationship. Some of that exchange reads as follows. Okay, Ventura said, "Going to sleep." Now, this is what she's sending Diddy, okay? And then I'll read his responses. Ventura says, "Going to sleep now so it can be tomorrow faster. I love you." Combs says, "Love my baby." Okay, she sends him a smiley face emoji. He says, "I love you so much, it consumes my life." She says, "I wonder the same thing for myself, like, who was I before we decided to be together?" Diddy says, "I never knew it could be like this." Just running the game, honey. Please pay attention. The jury also saw text from August of 2009 in which Combs told Ventura, "I love you so much, it makes me cry." And that exchange, Ventura calls Diddy Pop Pop. Earlier this week, Ventura testified that she calls Combs Pop Pop, which was the name she called her grandfather. Okay, and he was just old enough to be her father. He's so ridiculous. Okay, so that was just from 3 minutes ago. Okay, so waiting for the next update. So let's continue with this video.
Yesterday, though, in an exclusive jailhouse interview, Audie repeated his story to News Nation producer Allison Weiner. And he described what a freak-off actually looked like from inside the room.
Candles, sensual atmosphere, lights off. He would sit in a corner in a sofa, watch and meditate. And he'd say, he'd tell her, give her instructions what to do to me. Perform oral sex, rub baby oil. Then he'd tell me rub baby oil, perform oral sex, and then have sex.
How many times did you have sex with Cassie?
Probably like 15 sessions.
And what did you get paid? How much?
It would be like 800 each time.
Another bombshell today when Cassie testified that after she and Diddy finally broke up, she says Diddy raped her in 2018 in her own living room. This was around the time she began dating her now husband, Alex Fine. And yes, Mr. Fine was in the courtroom to hear all of it. By now, almost everybody has seen that infamous hotel hallway beating video, right? But today, the court released more of it. And before I show it, I do want to give you a warning. It's quite disturbing. It can be very triggering. So fair warning, we're going to roll it. We got a picture. Which, by the way, she said she had to cover with makeup 2 days later at a movie premiere, this movie premiere. This is her. She said she was thick with makeup to get rid of the black eye, but she said some of the bruises on her body were still quite visible, especially the ones on her inner thighs, she said. And while the judges ruled that the freak-off videos are not going to be seen by the public, today the jury saw 5 screen grabs of the freak-off videos. And at least one juror, a man, looked away. But here's the thing, Diddy is not charged with rape. Diddy is not charged with domestic abuse or drug offenses. He is charged with sex trafficking and racketeering, violating the RICO Act, which means the feds are trying to prove that he ran a criminal enterprise using his staff, his money, his power to indulge his own appetites at any cost. Let's unpack some of this with my friend Mark Garagos, defense attorney and co-host of the hit podcasts Reasonable Doubt and Two Angry Men. Okay, Garagos, first I have to ask right off the bat, nobody seems to have been able to get this from you. Are you or aren't you a member of Diddy's defense team in any way?
Actually, I thought I was here to talk Menendez, so I'll avoid that question. So next.
Okay, you can't answer that question. You are here actually to, is it okay to talk Diddy?
Did I stun you? My preference is to not mix and match, only because I don't think, Ashley, that I've done anything nationally since the brothers got the news yesterday. So I know how much you've been following their saga, and I really wanted to kind of focus on them. I thought that was their moment, if you will.
I have that planned for you, my dear friend Mark, but it's just, it's a few questions down from the Diddy Biddy. I have to talk Diddy for, can we just have, I want to get some clarity from you because I know you understand this stuff.
Do you know why I love you? I do, and I will tell you, yes, because you never stop. Also because, you know, a lot of times when I'm in court, and I say something, even as recently as yesterday, the Menendez case, and the judge sustains an objection, that basically the move is, and then gives you one of the hand movements that's like, move on, you know what I mean? So I'm used to that. I'm trying to give you that.
You're trying to give me that, yes, it's not gonna work. It's not going to work. I won't ask you because this little nebulous, I don't want to mention whether I'm on Diddy's team or not because everybody's been playing the guessing game. Were you a jury consultant or were you on the team?
Look, I don't hire myself out as a jury consultant. I have been very upfront about the fact that my daughter is the one who gave the opening statements, and I have known Sean and currently represent Sean in a number of matters and have represented Sean for years. I mean, that's no secret. And I consider him a friend, and I'm not going to abandon a friend. So, you know, I've seen kind of the ups and downs of the last year, and I get it.
Okay. So, you know, I'm not a lawyer. This is why I always lean very heavily on you and others to help me navigate through some of the intricacies of these cases. But I've got to be honest, I don't know that I like what I'm seeing out on the TV with a lot of legal analysts who say there's nothing to see here. Because I'll be honest with you, as I've been watching the prosecution's case, I am seeing them lay out a lot of very specific building blocks. And here's where I'm going to show you I've done my research and then ask you if I've made a mistake. For RICO, you got to prove at least 2 predicate acts, right? 2 criminal acts over the course of 10 years. And these are some of the predicate acts that qualify. So 2 out of this list: assault, forced labor, bribery, distribution of controlled substance, extortion, kidnapping, witness tampering, dealing in obscene matter, obstruction of justice, slavery, sex trafficking, drug trafficking. And in so many of the details that I've been hearing, Mark, I'm seeing stuff that matches all this. The bag of money allegedly given to the security guard at the hotel saying, don't say anything, keep this quiet. I mean, that's obstruction of justice. That's bribery. The assault stuff that we're seeing, the black eye, the hotel video, that's it. Well, I got 2 right there. Where am I wrong?
Well, look, I'll take a step back. Everything that you say you can, I believe, could be tethered to or should be tethered to what the evidence is. I don't believe that the way that you've characterized it, and this is part of the problem with federal district court trials. You get kind of a report and it says various things and it ticks off various things. A lot of the nuance and a lot of the exact testimony is not what's being tethered to. If you were to see a transcript, for instance, of something that was said, I will give you an example. I saw a transcript, not in this case, but in another case, where somebody had said about a payment, was that payment or was there any investigation going on at that time? And they said, no. What was the payment for? Payment was for something else. That takes you out of an obstruction or anything else. So I don't know what the transcript says. As I freely said to your producer today, I was not in court and I'm still in LA. And absent somebody sitting in the courtroom who actually has taken verbatim notes, it's very difficult to say, oh, it can be horrific. Mind you, the opening statements kind of invited that. You're going to hear stuff. You're going to not like people. You and I have talked about that for years in other kinds of cases, where you'll do an opening statement and you will concede that your clients may be bad people or jerks or mean, but it's not necessarily criminal. And so I think you have to be very careful before you say, this is horrible, this is horrible. Oh, therefore there's a building block.
Oh, listen, horrible schmorrible. There's a lot of stuff that's in there that's gross, and I think Diddy will struggle to ever get a reputation back if he beats this rap, period. But the dangerous stuff that could put him away forever, I feel these were some building blocks, and that at the head of the enterprise, he's using staff members to get these free coughs, which are, dens of illegal activity. He's using staff members to set them up, which is the man directing the illegal activity. All that to me screams RICO. Now, I guess it's all up to the corroborating witnesses. If people are going to come in, and it won't just be he said, she said, but if the jury can hear more from others and be convinced. Now, like you said, you wanted to talk Menendez, and I know you have a hard stop in 3.5 minutes.
I'll finish. Well, one more point, though. Also, it's tough. We haven't gotten across yet. So what I always counsel in these cases, you and I have talked about this, and you're usually extremely good at this. You don't jump to conclusions just based on the direct. How many times have you seen in a case, I know that it's virtually every case I'm in, the direct, you walk away, you say, how are they ever going to get over this? And I've talked to jurors who say the same thing. And then they hear the cross and they go, oh my goodness, I really jumped the gun.
There it is.
So
yeah.
I would counsel against it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact
All right. So she thinks that they're proving their case thus far. Well, we shall see, because it is given that they're proving their case. And let me just say this too. There was a document. Let me just pull it up really quick while we're waiting for more updates. There was a document. You know, the prosecution has been sending these letters to the judge for the past few days, as I told you all on yesterday. Here's another one they sent. They have some complaints and gripes, and this is the one where they're talking about how they don't want certain evidence or certain things asked during Cassie's examination. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's like 4 pages, but I'll just give you the brunt of it. Okay, this was sent out on the 13th. Dear Judge Subramanian, the government respectfully submits this letter in opposition to the defendant's request that witnesses be prohibited from communicating with their attorneys during breaks in cross-examination. In making this request, the defendant cited no cases holding that third-party witnesses should be prohibited from speaking with their independent counsel during breaks in cross-examination. Rather, and then they list some cases or whatever. Now, the whole reason for this is because the defense is concerned that as they're preparing for cross-exam, that the prosecution, not the prosecution, but the witnesses' attorneys will coach them and basically let them know how they're doing. Like, if they had some questions they were asked, and then they're thinking maybe their attorneys will say, well, if they ask you something like this again, next time say this. Basically coaching them, giving them instruction as to how to proceed, and basically telling them what to say. And so that's what the defense is concerned about, because of course that can hinder their case. Okay, so they wrote a letter opposing that. But also, when they say they don't want Cassie asked about STDs and don't want her asked about how many relationships she's been in sexually or anything about her prior S acts, they actually do have a law about that, like I told you, and it's called the I think it's called the Grape Shield Law. Yeah, that's what it is, the Great Shield Law. So this basically generally prohibits the defense from questioning a victim about prior sexual behavior, okay? Because they feel like that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the person was raped. Don't try to victim blame. If you're trying to suggest that the person is promiscuous or maybe they dress a certain way provocatively, that had nothing to do with it, so don't bring that up, okay? The rule basically aims to protect victims' privacy also, so they don't have to put everything about their sex life out there in the public or in front of the jury in the courtroom full of people, okay? And then, it prevents irrelevant and potentially prejudicial information from being introduced into the trial, okay? But here's the thing. Sometimes that, in my opinion, could affect a person's credibility. Okay? That could affect a person's credibility sometimes. I mean, some of those things that they could ask, but they're not allowed to. That's just my opinion. Okay? So that all being said, we have Cassie being cross-examined today, and then I believe Maya, the person using the pseudonym of Maya, that's not their real name, but they used to work for Diddy. They were his assistant. They're supposed to be testifying today also, because they claim that Diddy raped them too, honey. Ugh, Diddy, you're going down. This is all nefarious. Okay, so still no more updates. Let me go to the next video. Like some, everyone, please like and share. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to go to the Breakfast Club. I'm going to the Breakfast Club because, as you all know, Lauren from the Breakfast Club is literally there in the trial every day. So I want to hear what she has to say. Okay. Even though, luckily, most of the stuff that people are telling, people who are actually at the trial, we have that same information because we're following along, for the entirety of the day. So a lot of this information we actually have before they even put it out here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Let me put up an overlay.
Update in the Halle Bailey DDG situation. Yesterday, Halle was granted temporary sole physical and legal custody of her son that she shares with DDG Halo until June 4th, until a court hearing. So on Tuesday, we talked about how she went and told the judge, hey, this is everything that's been happening to me. She got that temporary restraining order. But in addition to that, she did ask for the custody. And she asked that she wants to remain the sole custodian of her child moving forward as well, but a judge is going to decide on that. And according to the legal docs that she filed, she did this and she didn't give any notice to DDG, because y'all remember he was on that stream and he was like confused and people were like, how you don't know this coming? She said she didn't give any notice to him that she was doing any of this because she is alleging that she was in fear that violence would reoccur and that she feared that the other party would take the child out of the area before the order could be granted and served. So that's just an update there.
Can we get the puff?
Yeah. So yesterday in court, Cassie took the stand again. It is the second week of trial, and she finished her the conversation she's having with the prosecutors. These are the people that want Diddy locked up. She talked about a ton of things, but one thing that they did yesterday that I thought they did a good job at is they leaned into why the sex trafficking charges are there. So they through Cassie's testimony, they set up the whole like enterprise that they're claiming he has. So based on her testimony, you have, Diddy here at the top. And these are not things she said verbatim. It took her hours to get through all of this, but this is what you walk away with. You have Diddy at the top of the hem, and then Cassie's like second in control because she's making phone calls, she's booking the escorts. Then you have different employees that come in from time to time. You have a person, they're alleging a woman named KK is involved.
So it's like a crime ring.
Exactly. They're alleging a security guy who's also like a really close friend of Puff's named D-Rock is involved. They throw out some names here. Now, the crime itself, people are confused about they're like, well, how is he sex trafficking? How is that even a thing? But what they're showing us evidence of, text messages and conversations, is Diddy saying, yo, fly these people out. So Cassie went through at least a good 15 different escorts that she knew by name because they had dealt with them so much.
Different cities, different places.
Bro, LA, New York, Miami, and Las Vegas was their main spots, and they was flying these people all to these different places. Like one guy was based in New York, but he had been to all them places with
them.
And
that is allegedly the definition of sex trafficking, correct?
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah, it's part of it. When you fly people across state lines with the intent to do anything immoral, and you're forcing them or coercing them to do it, correct?
The action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation.
Okay, that is true, but my question is, how is Diddy forcing or coercing these S workers? The S workers went out of town to do these things because they were paid to do it, because that's what they do. That's their line of work. So I would like to know how they were coerced or forced into doing these things, because they went there voluntarily, as far as I'm concerned, because they wanted the cash. And one of them already said, when he testified on Monday or Tuesday, he already said that he enjoyed the lifestyle and that he would have done it for free. Does anybody not remember him saying that? Do y'all remember that? What's in the chat if you all remember the S worker saying that on Monday when he testified? What was his name? Daniel Phillip, or was it Tuesday when he testified? But Daniel Phillip, he literally said that he enjoyed doing it and he would have done it for free. So he wasn't coerced. He didn't have to be. And in my opinion, none of these S workers had to be coerced, because they knew Diddy was a big time celebrity and they wanted to be around him and they wanted to have dealings with him. They wanted to clout chase. They wanted to also make money. They were being paid thousands of dollars. This is not S trafficking as far as those escorts, in my opinion. Okay, now they still need to prove exactly, how this is all S trafficking, because I'm not seeing it. I don't care what anybody says. It's not making any sense to me. Now, the thing with Cassie, the stuff that Cassie said that she was made to do, okay, that sounds like S trafficking, to be honest. I mean, because of the way she was forced, or she claimed she was forced and all of that, and really didn't have a say so. But at the end of the day, Mel says Jonathan Oddie got $5 million and signed an NDA. Yes, and Jonathan Oddie also, he wasn't coerced either. He worked for the Cowboys and Angels, and he voluntarily was having these relations with Diddy. Okay? And he got that $5 million because he recorded Diddy secretly, remember? Because he said he wanted to make sure if anybody died from taking all those illegal substances, he didn't want it to be blamed on him. Okay, and he also said that Diddy gave him herpes. Okay, so that's why he got that $5 million. But at the end of the day, I'm not seeing how these S workers were flown from one place to another and then forced. Okay, because they flew across by themselves. The flights were booked through a travel agency, according to Cassie, and they flew and met Diddy and Cassie where they were supposed to meet them at. How's that coercion? Nobody made them do that. They did it because they wanted to. Honey, all these people had a hand in it, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not defending Diddy, but these are the facts as I see them.
And you don't have to force them. So if they just do it for that, like you're not forcing them, but if you send them and pay them for that, that is sex trafficking.
That's a part of it, but the forcing and the coercing comes into it as well. Coercion comes into it, and now that's what I said. So I said when it comes to Cassie, they did yesterday. The prosecution showed us a bunch of text messages, and she had a lot of conversation about how she was coerced or forced. Right?
Gotcha. He's facing charges of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation for purposes of prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy.
So the prostitution and the transportation for prostitution, boom, that's you bringing people across state lines to have sex with them and paying them to do it.
Okay, so yeah, that does make sense because I forgot they charged them. They charged them with transportation to engage in prostitution. Yeah, okay. So, well, it is sex trafficking, Diddy. Well, you're out of here. All right, there's no way they're getting out of this at this point. There's no way they're getting out of here at this point. Mar said, come here talking about you guys are slow. No, you're slow because you don't come here insulting anybody, bitch. Okay, that's what you don't do. All right, so anyway, let's continue.
On Cassie's side, the coercion and the force, they showed text messages where Puff is texting her and saying things like, threatening to blackmail her with freak off videos. So a lot of people were like, yo, we don't know what they have. They literally showed it yesterday.
Now, you also said, am I right or wrong, that they showed pictures and videos of Cassie beat up and knots on her head?
Not video. They will not show any video in court because they don't. They're afraid that it'll get out. Even the photos they showed, they've showed them, but they only showed them to the jurors and to Cassie to look at. But yes, the couple photos that they did show of her abuse, it was so bad.
You seen them?
Yeah,
you did see him?
Yeah, like we didn't get to see photos of the freak off. They showed actual screenshots from the freak off videos, but we saw some photos of the domestic violence.
Me, Flo, I agree with you on that, but my point was they weren't coerced. Okay, there's a difference. Yes, that is still engaging, transporting to engage in prostitution, but they weren't coerced. That's what my point was. Okay, please pay attention.
And it was horrible. Like, she took a selfie and her lip was so swollen. There was another photo of like the gash on her head, a huge gash on her head. And she said that she didn't even go to like a regular doctor. She went to like a plastic surgeon to get stitches because they just was trying to keep it low.
And this wasn't the DV from the video that everybody's seen.
They spent about an hour and a half talking about situations completely nothing to do with that video that everybody saw.
Why didn't they let y'all see pictures of the freak offs?
Because they want to make sure that no media or, because there's normal people of the public in court as well too. They don't want nothing to get out because it can be re-traumatizing for the women already because they got to sit up here and talk about it. So they're like,
but they showed y'all pictures of Cassie all lumped up.
Yeah, and the video,
It was
That's crazy.
They argued about it for a day, Jess, and I don't know, they just decided not to do it. They said that they didn't want to re-traumatize the victims that way. But
was Cassie's parents there?
Cassie, I didn't see Cassie's parents, but her brother and her husband were there. And when they started getting into a lot of the things about, the sexual acts that she did.
Okay, Adrian says, has it been proven that he did pay them or did Cassie pay them? Well, Diddy got Cassie to pay them, but of course, we know that the money came from Diddy because where did Cassie have money? You know what I'm saying? The S worker who testified already said that Cassie paid him with her credit card or debit card sometimes, and that Cassie gave them the money. That's what he said. So they're going to have about at least 5 of the S workers are going to testify. So we'll hear what they say, because at the end of the day, they've suggested that Cassie got the money from Diddy and Cassie paid them, which is why I told you all Cassie is merely an unindicted co-conspirator. Let's continue.
He was there and I was watching him. He was unfazed. There was a couple times where he took a couple glances at Puff. Like, he's been.
Yeah, could you imagine? You see your sister, or you see, if her parents are there, you see your daughter knotted up. Like, yeah, you want that get back.
But I wanted to talk about I forget, I was going somewhere and then we they brought up Kid Cudi, and they brought up a timeline of like just different guys that Cassie had began to try and date and get away from Diddy with, and what would happen when she would try to do that. So Cassie alleged that when she started dating Kid Cudi, she kept it really low or whatever, but when Puff found out, he made them all sit down and have a conversation at a dinner table. And this was, and he had threatened to Cassie allegedly that he was going to do something to Kid Cudi when they went out of the country. He was going to blow up his car allegedly.
Miflo says he forced her, and I don't care what y'all say, he forced her. She was loving too hard. She wanted P. Diddy to herself, but instead he wanted to see her with other people. He didn't love Cassie. Well, we already said all this yesterday, beloved, and we don't care what you say either, okay? How about that? And if you really don't care what we say, why are you here? Let's continue.
And so when they sit down at dinner, Kid Cudi's like, well, what about my car? And Puff was like, I don't know what car you're talking about. But what I thought was crazy about this timeline was there's always a thing of her being with Puff and then going back to these other men and then going back to Puff. With Kid Cudi, the day she talked about going to go see him one of those days, she had left from a freak off and went to go see him.
Now also, I'm interested to see what Diddy's defense team is going to come up with, because if you get on that stand, I mean, when Cassie gets on that stand and you try to press Cassie, you can't press her without admitting Diddy.
Hold on, let me just make a quick announcement for some of you people who may be new in the chat. I don't know who some of you think you are, but don't come in here talking slick, because I will drop the link and let you click it so you can get up here and talk shit on camera. Don't sit there and talk slick in the chat. We can drop links, because that's what we do over here for those of you who don't know it. You come in here disrespecting me or anybody in the chat, talking crazy, because everybody's entitled to their opinions. Okay, everybody's entitled to their opinions, and that includes me and everyone else in the chat. See, some of you all think that only you can speak your opinion, and if anyone doesn't agree, then you're going to go in on them. No, that's what you're not going to do. And if you think you are, I'll drop the link and you can click it and get up here and turn your camera on so we can see who we're talking to, and then you can let us all hear what you really got to say, okay? And then I'll gladly respond to it. Now, if I drop the link for somebody and you refuse to click it, because you just want to be Twitter fingers and talk slick in the chat, then you'll get banned from the channel. Either click the link or talk like you got some sense, okay? That's how that goes. All opinions are welcome. You can agree to disagree, but everybody will be respectful on this channel, because you come in here being disrespectful, the chat's going to go in on you first, and I'm going to go in on you second. So either way, it's not going to be good, is all I'm saying. Okay, thank you. Let's continue.
He did commit crimes. Like, if you're gonna say Cassie is G Money, then that means Diddy was Nino Brown. So if you're his defense, you would have to acknowledge that he committed crimes in order to, implicate Cassie. Are they gonna try to say, Diddy did all these things, but it was consensual? But she's clearly telling you it was.
I have a question. Does Cassie have immunity? Because can she be charged? Do we know that?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find that out, but I'm gonna tell y'all this. I was sitting there yesterday and I'm like, okay, the prosecution did a good job. I see where their case lies with Puff. But if she wasn't sitting up here testifying, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have tried to come and get her some way, because she was so involved in everything. And even though she went through a lot, I'm not taking that from her. She talked about having UTIs that even antibacterial medicine couldn't cure anymore, because she was having so much sex. There were sores in her mouth. Like,
so why nobody else?
See, that right there is why Diddy needs to go to prison. That is disgusting, okay? That stuff that Cassie gave yesterday, that testimony she gave yesterday, Diddy is done. Okay, sores in your mouth, constant UTIs, that is so egregious. And that all comes from sleeping with all these multiple people. She said Diddy would not allow her to have them use protection. Then them doing the golden showers, the waterworks, and all that nasty stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about. No wonder the poor girl had UTIs. It's a wonder. She should be thrilled that she's able to still give birth. Okay, it could have messed up her reproductive organs. Monty, thank you, beloved. Monty said, talking slick in the chat is for punks. Keep that same energy face to face. Don't come at the queen. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. And thank you too, Nicole. Okay, that's how we get down over here. We know what all that crazy talk. Now, like I said, I don't mind anybody's contrary opinions or whatever. You're welcome to. If you're for Diddy, okay, that's your business. If you're for Cassie, that's good. At the end of the day, you can say what you feel about the trial and voice your opinions. But don't come in here calling nobody dumb, stupid, or telling people they slow because they don't agree with you or they said something you didn't like. Okay, that's not what we do over here. Okay, this is a place for respect where everybody can say what they feel, and we're all here to enjoy the salaciousness of it all. Because Diddy, your ass is going down, because I still think Diddy had everything to do with what happened to Tupac. Okay, so let's get into it.
Who's been arrested if it's a RICO?
That's what I was saying. I was wondering.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think, in my opinion, and I don't know, but I feel like some of these charges are not going to, they're not going to be as strong once we hear the testimonies. But there's certain things based off of yesterday and based off of yesterday, and it's going to change every day.
It's only been day 3.
Yeah, but
8 weeks.
You can walk away. You can walk away with opinions early.
No,
because
we got a long way to go.
You can.
No, we can't.
You can.
You have to hear all the facts.
You don't even have 10% of the evidence yet.
Nah,
I don't.
We have to see.
But you do have to see.
I know we got to go, but it came out about the settlement with the Cassie settlement. And
$20 million.
So
we finally know the number. She received $20 million, and she said that $30 million she asked for, she just randomly came up with that number because she felt like that's what she deserved. And this was after she had sent the book over to Puff's team, and she was told by one of his employees, "Oh, ain't nobody taking it serious."
Now she received the $20 million. I see a lot of people saying if she received the money, then why is she still testifying? And she said that in court yesterday too, right?
She said that she felt guilty. That she felt like that, she had been doing all these things, and she felt guilty. She felt bad. Now she wanted a chance to do something right.
No. The real reason Cassie is testifying is because the feds came after her and told her she was going to testify. And if she didn't testify, Cassie could be charged as a co-conspirator. Now, don't forget, I told you all that over a year and a half ago. She's an unindicted co-conspirator. Okay, because Cassie was, in fact, one of Diddy's co-conspirators. Christina Karan was allegedly one of Diddy's co-conspirators. Okay, Brendan Paul. Okay, other people that were aiding Diddy. All right, all of them. Because here's the thing. Of course, Cassie said that Diddy made her do these things. But do you think the feds knew that? They wanted to prove it. And also, of course, they probably felt like she was forced into some of it, but at the end of the day, as far as they were concerned, they wanted to get Diddy, and the best way to get Diddy is to get other people who were involved to flip on him. So that's what they did. Christina Karan is probably going to testify against him too. Brendan Paul. Let's not forget that he got felony charges when he was in the Opelika airport with Diddy. Okay, so this is why some of these people are going to be testifying.
When you heal, your choices stop coming from pain and start coming from clarity. Cassie is making choices with clarity right now.
Yeah.
When she was with Diddy, she was making choices from pain.
Man, pain. She talked about a suicide attempt. I know we got to go. It was so much.
I'm just sorry. She got to, think about it. She got to relive all this again every day, the questions and talking about it. And then today is going to be on the other side. So the fence is going to be going at her.
I bet it's therapeutic for her, though. So when she says things like Diddy,
think so?
She broke down yesterday, Charlamagne. Broke down bad when she was talking about the.
Charlamagne is so tone deaf to me. Charlamagne the devil is so tone deaf. He's talking about therapeutic. How is it therapeutic for her to discuss her SEX life and the heinous things that happened to her and how she was humiliated in front of all these people she don't know? All of these people that she doesn't know. Now, maybe it would be therapeutic if she spoke about it to a counselor, a psychologist, or psychiatrist, maybe, okay, to get it off her chest. But in front of a courtroom of people, no, that's re-traumatization. That's what that speaks to. Okay, Panther Strike said, crap. I walk in the kitchen and the roaches come out the woodwork talking slick. If you don't sit down. King Kai says, peace to the queen. Love me some you. I'm expecting this trial to cover who was given immunity and why, and the child trafficking and NDAs. Okay, that's what I'm waiting on, beloved. I hope they get into all of it.
The suicide attempt.
I bet you releasing all of this is therapeutic for her. I bet you shedding all of this is therapeutic for her.
Wow.
Possibly.
Which is probably why the money ain't enough. No, I need to go get this off me.
Right.
She said she couldn't hold on to some things anymore too. She did say that.
All right. Well, that is the latest.
Happy birthday, Ray Lewis.
Who?
Ray Lewis. You don't know Ray Lewis?
Yes, I couldn't hear you the first time.
Happy birthday, Ray Lewis.
Go to sleep.
It's Ray Lewis' birthday, yo.
Yes, okay, we're aware. You said that.
Y'all know him. That's the Ravens player.
We know who Ray Lewis is.
Donkey of the day is up next, and also Just Fix My Mess. Get on the phone lines 800-585-1051. If you need Just to fix your mess, call us up. It's Breakfast.
You're not judging.
You're checking out the Breakfast Club.
Okay, let's see if we have any more updates, guys. Here we go. Okay, so Cassie Ventura testified that she often wanted more time with Sean Combs while they were in the relationship. Now, the jury saw a message that Ventura sent Combs in April of 2010 saying, I haven't talked to you at all. And she put at all in all caps. I know you can take 3 minutes out of your day to talk to me and you don't even try. You're in too much of a rush to get me off the phone. That's not being in a relationship with someone that you love and are in love with you. I am really hurt by the way you deal with me. I don't need your money. I need some attention. I'm thankful, but I can pay for things myself. Now, here's the thing. That's why I told you all. Diddy didn't care about Cassie. If he did, he wouldn't have been making her do all those things with all those different men while he sat there and watched. It's all disgusting because I've not heard Cassie really testify to any intimate moments that they had just with the two of them. It was always with freak-offs. And even when she texted him saying that she wanted to have relations with him, just him and her, he's telling her to call people. So Diddy didn't care anything about Cassie. She was just an object to him as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I bet you he never asked Kim Porter to do any of that stuff because he knew better. Pearly, thank you so much, beloved. I appreciate you. Pearly just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Okay, Royals, y'all hurry up and snatch those memberships and shout out to Pearly. Okay, and put some fire emojis in the chat. Thank you, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, Cassandra Ventura testified that she fell in love with Sean Diddy Combs' real personality. Defense attorney Ana Estavio had asked Ventura what made her fall in love with Combs, prompting Ventura to say that she hadn't thought about it in a while. She says the beginning of the relationship was really, we spoke about it already. It was really fast-paced, scary. But the more time I spent with him and got to know him, his real personality, at least what I thought was his real personality, and I liked what it was. When asked about his personality, what about his personality that she liked? Ventura said, in the beginning of the relationship, he was very sweet and attentive. Ventura also described Combs as having a charismatic, big personality that everyone really loved. Defense attorney Ana Estavio asked Cassie Ventura a series of questions about how she had earned Sean Diddy Combs' trust and about how she wanted to make him happy. And to make him happy, you told him that you wanted to do the freak-offs. This is what she asked, referring to the rug with a D fueled sex performances that Combs had arranged. She said there's a lot more to that. That's what Cassie responded. Cassie Ventura has asked the judge for a quick break. Now, mind you, Cassie gets a break. She gets to take breaks like every 90 minutes, okay? Because of she's so far along in her pregnancy. Now, the jury has been viewing text messages between her and former boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs while they were dating. Okay, so during this break, requested by Cassie Ventura, defense lawyer Karen Friedman Agnifilo. What is Mark Agnifilo's wife doing here? Please pay attention. Isn't she supposed to be over there watching Luigi Mangione? She's his lawyer also. So during this break requested by Cassie Ventura, defense lawyer Karen Friedman Agnifilo, who was married to Sean Diddy Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, is at a divider and conferring with 5 attorneys from the defense team. She is speaking the longest with Ana Estavio, who is doing the cross-exam. I bet she's giving her some pointers, honey, because Karen Agnifilo, she's just as good as her husband. Well, almost, not quite, but you know what I'm saying. So earlier, Combs gave a heart-shaped hand gesture to Karen Friedman Agnifilo's mother, who is seated beside her. All of these people are Diddy's friends. I just want you all to know, I mean, not all of them, but some of these attorneys, they've known Diddy for years and they have a rapport with him. Okay, he knows their family and all of that. Combs is wearing a beige sweater, white collar, and gray pants. His 3 sons and mother are in the courtroom this morning, and he tapped his chest when he made eye contact with him. Now, here's the thing, Panther Strike beloved, you said that Mark Garagos is not really Diddy's friend. I have to disagree. I think that he is really Diddy's friend, because here's the thing. Just because he's Caucasian doesn't mean that he can't be a good friend to Diddy, because I feel like some of the people who look like Diddy that were supposedly his friends, that Diddy thought were his friends, like Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, and others, those people have abandoned Diddy, okay? I mean, I can't say I blame them, but they've abandoned Diddy. They've not shown him any support. They've not given him the benefit of the doubt, and some of them probably were doing some of the same stuff he's accused of, just to be honest. So, but at the end of the day, think about how much you have to care about somebody to stick by them when something like this is going on. Okay, Mark Garagos has said that he's not going to just throw Diddy by the wayside. He's going to stand right there by him. So yes, I would absolutely say that someone that's with you and something like this is going on, that is absolutely your friend. Okay, in my opinion. Okay, so I mean, where's Usher? Where's all these other folks? I'm just saying, we thought they were Diddy's friends for years. What's the other woman's name? Naomi Campbell. Okay. All of these folks that were all at these white parties, where are they now? They're nowhere to be found. That's where they are. They were never Diddy's friends, okay? That's what I think. I don't think they were ever Diddy's friends. Okay, Stevie J, that's right. Stevie J is not even at the trial. Have y'all thought about that? I hadn't even thought about it, Ladybug. Thanks for putting that out there. Mama Joyce said, where's Meek? Exactly. Okay, those are the people that Diddy thought were his friends. They're nowhere to be found. They're not showing support. They're not speaking up for him or any of that, okay? But Mark Garagos is. So I would say that he's a friend more so than anybody else that Diddy thought was his friend. That's right, Claudette said, including Jay-Z. Panther Strike said, Queen, did the defense question Cassie on the prosecution offer to grant immunity for her testimony? No. And they likely won't. They likely won't, beloved. But yeah, they didn't ask her about that. They're really just getting started. Okay, Aqua Girl Rising said Ashton Kutcher claimed they were best friends. Exactly. Ashton Kutcher was friends with Diddy supposedly since 2005 when they met at the MTV, on the set of MTV. They were doing, I might think it was an episode of Punk'd or something, but whatever. They've been supposed friends since 2005. That's 20 years. But where's Ashton? Didn't Ashton say he was leaving the country, getting the hell up out of here? Him and Mila? Yeah, I wonder why they're getting up out of here. Okay, please pay attention. So yeah, they weren't his friends. Cece said Mace. Now, you know Mace don't like Diddy. Mace said Diddy's mama got all the receipts, okay? Janice Combs may be listed as a conspirator, a co-conspirator. Remember, when they talk about co-conspirator, she may be listed because I told you guys that Mace said years ago that Janice and Justin had some of Diddy's things in their names. All right? This is going to be real juicy today, guys. Okay, so with that all been said, while we're waiting for more updates, I'm going to go to this video right here. Hold on. Hold on, I don't think I want to go to this one. I'm going to delete that. Let me see here. Stephen A. Smith had a lawyer on his channel today, early this morning, talking about Diddy. And I'm going to go to that because I want to hear what he has to say. Mind you, I haven't listened to any of these videos. I just put them all in here in queue so we can have something to entertain ourselves with while we wait for the updates. Okay, Jason Victor said Mark is just there to give his daughter pointers at the end of the day. Oh yeah, of course he's going to do that. He wants them to win because of course that's his daughter. Exactly, but he's also not just there for his daughter, he's there for the other attorneys as well because he's been advising them the entire time. He was in court almost every day. Now one day, in fact, the judge called him into chambers, you know, and went in on him. Okay, because he said, you know, he just went in on him about calling the prosecutors a six-pack of white women. Okay, but you know, at the end of the day, he's there for Diddy too. He's Diddy's friend. I mean, if you listen to the Jonathan Oddie tape that I played for you all that he did in 2018, he was talking about Diddy and Mark Garagos back then. Okay, so they've been friends for years. That's just what it is. All right, so let's continue. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to use an overlay on this. Okay, here we go.
CNN legal analyst extraordinaire, Ellie Honig. Ellie, always good to see you. Let's get right to it. I mean, I know Cassie is back on the stand today, but let's talk about yesterday. What were your impressions of what we heard in court from Cassie herself yesterday?
I think she was doing what prosecutors need her to do, which first.
Hold on. Pearlie says, Queen, sorry to switch topics. We be covering Torey Lanez being stabbed 14 times. Yeah, we'll get into that. I already covered it yesterday, but we'll talk about the updates. And thanks for bringing it up because his dad came out and spoke. Honey, now they're saying that Torey didn't even shoot Megan. Did y'all hear about that? They had a whole press conference. I watched it last night. I started to get back on here, but I was too tired. I was in the bed. We'll talk about that. Thank you, beloved, for bringing that up. We will definitely get into that because I find it all so egregious. If Megan lied, honey, this is going to be real ugly. But let's continue.
first of all, Stephen, is to come across as credible, to come across as sympathetic, to tell her story, to put the jury in her shoes. Remember, in a trial setting like this, the witness is sitting feet away from the jury, 5, 10 feet. She is right there. And it sounds to me from talking to people in the courtroom and reading her testimony that what she talked about was clear. I think she detailed some really horrific experiences she went through. And I think she came off as credible. She didn't give the sense that she was stretching or going out of her way to say things that were damaging to Sean Combs. So I think yesterday, if I was the prosecutor at the end of the day yesterday, I would have said, good start. We got a long ways to go, though.
You apply to this amazing job. You wait for a response and nothing. Enhansive can upgrade.
One of the things that, and I hate bringing this up, I certainly am not trying to just harm her in any way. I just want to say, when she gave the details and then she talked about being urinated in her mouth, I was so appalled, so taken aback by it. I know I can't imagine most human beings would feel any differently than me. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily equate to sex trafficking and racketeering per se, but how damaging is that in a case such of this nature against P. Diddy?
Well, it's obviously visceral and revolting testimony for the reasons you said, Stephen. And I think it actually does raise that question, which is, was this voluntary? Because that's ultimately what the defense is going to be. And when you talk about acts like that are so extreme, it becomes harder and harder to agree that something like that, what you just talked about, would be done voluntarily. But you raise a really important point, and this is what the defense argued in its opening statement. And by the way, I thought this was an excellent opening statement by the defense. Sometimes you'll see defense lawyers get up there and say, everything you'll hear from the prosecution is BS. Their star witness is a liar. They have bad motives. That's not what the defense did here. I think they very smartly said, I'm paraphrasing here, but they said, he's not a good guy. He's done really bad things. He had a drug problem. He was domestically abusive of Cassie. However, the defense argued that is not what he's charged with. And they're right. This is not a domestic violence case. This is not an assault case. It is a federal racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking case. And so I think a big part of the defense, and we'll see this, I think, when Cassie gets cross-examined, probably late in the day on Wednesday, is you don't have to believe she's a full liar, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Even if what she says is true, this relationship, the defense will argue, was consensual, and it does not make Sean Combs a federal racketeer. I thought they did a really effective job of articulating that.
But Ellie, what about the notion that it's 12 jurors, right? It's 12 jurors, it's 6 alternates, they're human beings, and there is such a thing as hearing about acts, hearing about an individual that's so repulsive, so heinous, that you find yourself wanting to get him, even if the charges don't necessarily correlate with what you're hearing. We're talking sex trafficking and racketeering, but you might have people up there that says, I don't give a damn about the specificity 100%. Of the charges. His behind need to be in jail. How do you ward that off if you're the defense?
100%. That is a dynamic in the courtroom. You know, I practiced in that courthouse for much of my career in the Southern District of New York. People have this misconception that the jury is sort of this monolith. All it is 12 regular people, 12 people from Manhattan and the Bronx, maybe Westchester County. They are subject to emotion like anyone else. And yeah, if you're the prosecution, you do want to inflame the jury. There's limits, but you want to show them that video. You want them hating him. You want them being disgusted. And I think what the trick is, the difficulty for the defense lawyers, is you have to prevail upon the jury, say, look, you are not here to rule with your emotions or your heart. You are not even here to rule on whether he's a good person or a horrible person. You are here to rule on whether the prosecution has proved the specific federal crimes they've charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, by the way, I don't think the prosecution is going to be unable to prove its charges, but it is important to note that the charges are more dramatic and sort of more far-flung than just domestic violence and just assault. They have to show essentially that Sean Combs presided over a criminal organization that had structures and procedures in order to promote and protect his career.
Most of what was heard yesterday was about sex, drug use, domestic violence, as you just reiterated. But all of those, essentially, especially the latter, is a state crime, by the way. But this is a federal case. Has the prosecution made the connection to the federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering yet in your eyes?
So, no, not yet. I mean, they're still early in their case, but I think they'll get there. The racketeering laws, and I used to use these laws, charge these laws all the time, are very broad. And what they allow federal prosecutors to do, and again, this is a federal prosecution, is to pull in certain things that would otherwise be state crimes. So, for example, domestic violence or just an assault, like we see on that video, that would ordinarily not be a federal crime, but you can bring it into a federal court as evidence of the racketeering enterprise. And so, yeah, the allegation here is the racketeering enterprise committed a bunch of different crimes, including not just sexual assault and interstate prostitution, but gun possession and drug use and obstruction. And I'll tell you one other interesting feature of the charge here, Stephen. Racketeering definitionally means an organization, a group of people. I used to charge 25-person racketeering cases. I was doing mob cases, so it was more of a traditional setup. Sean Combs is alleged to be a racketeering enterprise of one. There are other participants alluded to, but he's the only person who was ever indicted. He's the only person sitting at that defense table. And look for his defense team to say, they're overkilling this. They're telling you the man was a one-man criminal enterprise. And I think prosecutors are going to respond and say, you bet, that is what we're saying.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. I have a question for you. If you had to make a choice between having
Okay, let's get into a couple of updates. Also, I want to shout out Truth Over Everything, who sent me a bunch of videos, TikTok videos, about Torey Lanez's case. Thank you, beloved. So we'll be talking about that soon. Now, Cassie is back from break. The jury is seeing more sexually graphic text messages Cassie Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs exchanged in August of 2009. The messages are a continuation of texts that were shown before Ventura, who's being cross-examined by the defense team now, asked for a short break. Those texts came as they were planning a freak-off, which is what Combs called the rug-fueled sex performances that he orchestrated. So Estavio says, what pills were you taking then? Ventura says, opiates. Estavio says, you deleted videos on your devices, right? Ventura says, yes. Estavio says, what did you write? Ventura says, that I need to feel this. This is my husband, the only one who will see this side of me. Estavio says, were you afraid that Mr. Combs was only seeing you for his sex in this way? Ventura said that was a concern. Estavio said, you still were not public in your relationship with him. Ventura says, correct. Estavio says, were freak-offs important? Ventura said, integral to us. So she said these freak-offs were integral. Now I want you all to think about this, because at this time when this was going on, and the reason their relationship was not public is because Diddy was still dating Kim Porter. When Diddy got with Cassie, he was still in a whole relationship with Kim Porter. And he had Kim thinking at first that Cassie was just his artist. So that's why the relationship wasn't public. And so Cassie, in my opinion, started doing these freak-offs likely because she wanted to win Diddy over. She wanted to have him all to herself. But what she didn't realize is that he was using her because he knew darn well Kim wasn't going to do any of that crap. Okay? And he knew not to even ask her for it. All right? Please pay attention. Nicole said, why do some women fall for emotionally unavailable men? Rejection, then lust. I don't know, honey. Nestle G said, because he has a Tootsie Roll. Yeah, but this is really sad because Cassie was all in love with him, honey, but Diddy wasn't studying her. He was just trying to use her for whatever freaky stuff he wanted to do. The same thing he was doing with Young Miami. Young Miami was all caught up in Diddy too. She was all in love with him and this and that. Diddy wasn't studying her. He was just using her to fulfill his sexual fantasies and the stuff that he wanted to do. That's all that was. And that's why when Trina asked Young Miami about golden showers, she initially said yes, okay? Because she knows she's probably done those with Diddy just like Cassie did. Then she tried to walk it back, but he was using her too. Diddy uses women as objects, okay? At the end of the day, Diddy is a DL man. He really likes men, okay? That should be abundantly obvious. And I told you all first, you all heard it here first, that after those first few lawsuits, I said, here come the men next. There's going to be a slew of men coming out and filing lawsuits because we all know he's zesty. And then what happened, okay? So Diddy doesn't care for women like that. He cared for Kim Porter because Kim had his children and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he didn't even treat her the way he should have, okay? He's just disrespectful, a user. And these DL men very often abuse women, okay? They very often abuse women. Now, the Cat's Meow says, OMG, if this is true, Torey Lanez has one serious lawsuit towards Meg and whomever is involved. Wow. Okay, I would have to say so. Okay, I would have to say so, because they said that girl Kelsey, and here's the thing that got me. Why didn't they test the DNA on the guns? That's all crazy, but we'll get into that.
You know, Cassie Ventura is on the stand yesterday and today. We've seen images, footage of her being beat. We've heard about her being urinated on. She's an expectant mother. She's about to give birth. She's 9 months pregnant. What kind of role, what imagery she provided with being pregnant do you think that could potentially have on the jury, particularly considering her testimony at this moment in time?
I think that absolutely matters. I take a very humanistic view of trials. I think they're all about the people and the personalities that are there in the courtroom. And, you know, it's interesting because the defense wanted to prohibit her from walking in. Normally the way it works is the door opens at the back of the courthouse and the witness walks right down the middle of the aisle, right past the jurors. And the defense said, no, Judge, let's get her seated first so she doesn't have to do that, so it's less obvious that she's pregnant. And the judge denied that. The judge said, no, we're going to treat her like any other witness. So they obviously know she is very, far along in her pregnancy. They can see it. She's sitting right in front of them. And of course, that elicits some degree of sympathy. It humanizes her. It reminds them that she is a mother. She already is a mother, but she's a mother to be. And you have to take that into consideration if you're the defense cross-examining her. Now, first of all, it's going to be a female defense lawyer who cross-examines her. I mean, if they send a male to cross-examine her, that is malpractice.
Didn't I tell you all that? I told you all that. You heard that here first too. I told you all that they should get a woman to cross-examine her, okay? Because a man, it would just look like bullying and like he's badgering the witness when he really starts going in hard to ask the tough questions. Okay, so with that all being said, okay, so Estavio says, who was at your 21st birthday party in Las Vegas? Ventura says, Britney Spears, Dallas Austin. Estavio said, how did you get them there? Ventura said, they came for Sean. Estavio said, you're very beautiful and charming. Ventura said, thank you. Estavio said, it's true. Now, I also want you to pay attention to something, okay? I want you all to pay attention to something. Now, they have Estavio. Now, see, I thought that when they came to the cross-examination of Cassie, and I told you all they should definitely get a woman, but I told you all, I said they should get Teenie Garagos or Nicole Westmoreland. The reason I said them is because, in my opinion, they have more experience than Ana Estavio. Okay, because I did my research. But here's the thing that I find interesting. Why do you think that they picked Ana Estavio, who has the least experience of the women? Okay, even Alexandra Shapiro, I believe, has more experience than her. I believe they picked her because of the ethnicity. Okay, Cassie Cassandra Ventura, isn't Cassie like half Mexican and half black, or part black and Filipino and Mexican or something like that, right? And Estavio is Latina also, or Mexican. So I think that is also a reason why they picked her, because she has the least experience. And so I was just wondering, but now that I think about it, I think that's possibly why they did that. And what made me remember that is that she's sitting here telling Cassie how beautiful she is, or you're very beautiful and charming. Okay, that's somebody of her own ethnic group. Okay, so she's being very flattering to her. And I want you to pay attention. She knows what to do. She's been very nice to Cassie, giving her compliments and all of that. So it's not going to be said that this is anything, this is anything towards badgering the witness, leading the witness, or anything like that. She's not going in too hard on her. American isn't said Filipino and Mexican, but she's also part African-American, beloved. Cassie is also part African-American. At least that's what they said. Let me just do a quick search.
You have to go after the prosecution's key witness. You have to be pointed and aggressive, but you also don't want to come across as being domineering or a bully. And so I think the fact that she's in her third trimester would also play in there.
Ellie, help me out here. I mean, just play with me for a little bit here. Why would it be malpractice to say? I mean, for obvious,
Okay, so just for clarification, Cassie Ventura, the singer and model, is of mixed ethnicity. Her mother is of African-American, Mexican, and West Indian descent. Okay, West Indians are black too, so she's definitely got some black in her, and African American, as well as Mexican, and her father is Filipino. So yeah, that's what it is.
I know the answer, but I want you to articulate it to the audience. Why would it be malpractice to send a male attorney up there to question Cassie Ventura? What if it were an absolutely brilliant attorney who was suave, who knew how to be very, very charming to a jury, etc.? Why would it be malpractice to send a male attorney up there to question Cassie Ventura? Educate our audience.
A lot of it's just an appearance issue. Look, this case is about a male abusing females. And so, look, cross-examination can get pointed. And you don't want to be in a position where the jury's watching a male defense lawyer, you know, not literally, but figuratively beat up on a very pregnant female witness / victim. So I think there's a sensitivity there. Also, look, there may need to be cross-examination about some of the nuances and details of the sexual activity, the freak-offs. Look, there was testimony, for example, Cassie Ventura testified that at times she was made to do these freak-offs while she was menstruating. And so those are questions that are much more comfortably asked by a female of a female.
Are you drowning in payday loan debt? Have you taken out multiple payday loans and are unable to pay them back? Then listen to this message closely.
Than a male of a female.
Am I wrong in saying this, Ellie? Does this sound even worse than R. Kelly? Am I wrong?
Oh, boy. It's you know, it's interesting how you look at it. I mean, R. Kelly, I think there was probably more violence. I mean, I know we have the videotape in this case. The number of victims, I think, was more with R. Kelly. But boy, the sort of full court domination of these women, mentally, physically, sexually, career-wise, in the Sean Combs case, I think is in a different category.
Last question for you, Ellie. Cassie's husband, I'm being told he may be called to testify in this trial, yet he was in court on Monday. First of all, is that ordinary? Is that something that's typical? I don't know whether or not that is. And what do you think about the notion of him giving testimony in all of this?
So it's interesting because normally if somebody is a potential witness, they're supposed to be what we call sequestered, meaning they're not supposed to be in the courtroom because you don't want witness A seeing what witness B is saying because they might conform their testimony to be consistent or to contradict that. So ordinarily, whichever side is thinking of calling a witness should make sure that that witness is not in the courtroom while other witnesses are testifying. If he is called, look, you know, if either side needs him to come to the stand, they will subpoena him. He will have to take the stand. I'm not sure what his relevance would be. It could be that the defense thinks he undercuts some aspects of Cassidy's testimony. Maybe she's had conversations with him that contradict things she said on the stand. Or on the other hand, maybe he supports some of the things she said. Maybe he met her at a time when she made certain statements to him that could be relevant now. So that would be a risky move, I think, for either side. But, you know, these are high stakes scenarios, Stephen A., and sometimes you have to make tricky calls. So we'll see. This reminds me of being back there at the prosecutor's office. And are we happy with what we got, or do we need to roll the dice here on another witness?
Absolute last question. If you're the defense team, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling okay thus far, because if I'm the defense team, my strategy is you can believe Cassie Ventura. Even if you believe her, though, this was a 10, 11-year consensual relationship. And so I'm in a position, on the one hand, where I don't have to convince the jury that this 8 months pregnant, likable, well-spoken, sympathetic woman is some kind of lunatic liar. On the other hand, though, let me give the other side. I'd be worried, though, because that videotape is so bad, and the visceral nature of her testimony and what she went through is so shocking. I'd be worried about what you talked about a few minutes ago, Stephen, which is just, is the overwhelming disgust for this guy, for Diddy, going to just be so much that it overwhelms everything else in that?
My apologies. You just brought up something very, very quickly. The fact that the whole tape has been released.
Yeah. So look, I don't know whether we'll get to see it in the public, but that tape is a crucial piece of evidence. The jury's going to need to see and consider every bit of that. And they actually had Cassidy Ventura narrating it sort of piece by piece, which I think is really important. A, because it bolsters Cassidy Ventura's testimony, but B, it allows a firsthand participant, the victim, to tell the jury exactly what they're seeing there and what's happening each step of the way.
Ellie Honig, CNN legal analyst extraordinaire, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, so y'all heard that. Zara says Trump will pardon Diddy. Mark my word. I doubt that very seriously after Diddy called Trump a whole racist. Diddy talked all that trash about Trump. Trump is not going to pardon Diddy, in my opinion, beloved. Okay, so now while we're waiting on more updates, we're going to listen to the Torey Lanez press conference. Okay, we got a lot to cover. Okay, so now, let me see here. Combs is, or Estavio says, who is Tommy Mottola? Now, y'all know that's Mariah Carey's ex-husband. Okay, Ventura says, a well-known producer. Estavio says, you were an up-and-coming star. Ventura says, I guess you could say that. Estavio says, after you signed with Bad Boy, things were still platonic. Ventura says, yes. Okay, that's all they have on that site. Now, let me go to this other CNN and see what they're talking about. Okay, so the jury saw another message exchanged between Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura from August of 2009, where she talked about wanting more pills and deleting a video. In the text, Ventura asked Combs if he had any more pills. Ventura testified that she was using opiates like Norco around the time these messages were sent. In the same text messages, Ventura also mentioned deleting a video, but she testified that she wasn't sure what kind of video she was referring to in the messages and couldn't be sure it was a freak-off recording. Defense attorney Ana Estavio asked if Ventura preferred to have freak-off videos recorded on her devices. Ventura said, I didn't want them to be recorded at all. And who would, honey? Okay, who would? Okay, Cassie Ventura testified that it's fair to say that she was a celebrity in her own right by the time she was 21 years old. Sean Diddy Combs brought other celebrities to her 21st birthday party, which was held at a nightclub in Las Vegas. Now, when defense attorney Ana Estavio asked Ventura how a 21-year-old could attract celebrity guests, Ventura said, that was all him. I didn't know them. Ventura testified during the prosecution's direct examination that she ran away when Combs kissed her for the first time at her 21st birthday party. Okay, I'm wondering if she's trying to set a trap for Cassie by asking her about that. Because if she's saying, I don't know, I'm wondering where she's going with this line of questioning, because trust me, she's not being all nice to Cassie for nothing, okay? Something's coming down the pipe. She's just going to ease it on in. That's right. American Isn't said that's a trap. Yeah, I definitely think she's coming with something, okay? Hey, Desmond, so glad you could join us, okay? There's my nefarious chief moderator. Okay, so anyway, I think she has something coming for Cassie, because it looks like she's already trying to get her. It looks like she's setting it up for Cassie to be caught in a contradiction, because she says, you said you ran away from him when he kissed you on your 21st birthday. Now, remember, Cassie did say that yesterday to the prosecution, but this 21st birthday party in Vegas, Diddy supposedly threw this party for her, and these famous people that showed up came because of Diddy. So I wonder if she's trying to imply that Cassie and Diddy may have already been doing a little something before then, or acting as though Cassie didn't really reject Diddy's kiss. I don't know. This is going somewhere. Let's just sit tight and see where it's all going, honey, because this is going to be juicy today, okay? And just remember, she's just getting warmed up, okay? She's just getting warmed up. I actually think they should have had Tina Garagos do the cross exam, but they got this lady doing it. She's, in my opinion, not as good as Tina, but we'll see. Okay, so that all being said, I'm going to go to the Torey Lanez press conference where his father is speaking. I mean, why did all this stuff have to happen at the same time? This is all so nefarious. Okay, lights up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming out and lending your cameras to the world. We appreciate you being here. My name is Sunstar Peterson, well known as the father of Torey Lanez, but his family affectionately knows him as Daystar Peterson. This may seem not even to matter today, but it does to me. The reason why he bears the name Daystar is because I was scheduled to speak in a conference in Washington, D.C. back in the early 2000s. Back in the late 90s. My wife and I stayed in a hotel across the river in Northern Virginia. I was up praying before that conference that I was supposed to speak at that evening. As I paced back and forth in my hotel suite praying, I began to quote the scripture from 2 Peter chapter 1, and it states, "For you will do well to take heed as unto a light shining in a dark place, until the day dawns and the day star arises in your heart." I didn't know whether it was a boy or girl in my late wife's womb, but I heard the Holy Spirit said to me, that is the name of your child. That's why he bears that name today. Now we're standing in the United States of America, land of the free and the home of the brave. I have watched from afar, being a Canadian. I have watched as presidents innumerable and other officials place their hand on the Bible and swear a sacred oath to uphold justice, to uphold truth, because that's what justice demands. So before I go any further, based on a courtroom that I stood in 508 days or so ago and heard my son convicted, is a court in the federal reality of things that also holds the Bible higher than judges. And so I'm going to pray a very short prayer before I get started here today. And I'm going to pray that in the spirit of when Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, stood before Pontius Pilate. Pontius said, "Why do you not speak? Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you or to let you go free?" It was only one of the times that Jesus ever spoke. He said, "You would not have power over me unless God Almighty gave it to you today. And I have come to bear witness of the truth." Upon which Pontius Pilate replied, "What is truth?" That question was never answered in Pilate's judgment hall. But I answer it for you today because Jesus Christ himself told us what the truth was. Truth is not a philosophy. It's not an ideology. It's not a doctrine. And it certainly is not a religion. Truth is a person. His name is Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the way, the truth that leads you to life." Father, upon the basis of your word today that this nation was founded upon, I ask that every ear that needs to be opened, including the ear of the governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom, I'm even asking today that in the midst of Mr. Trump's busy schedule as president of the United States, that this would come into his hearing. And so, Father, I ask you today, by your Spirit, because you're the only reason why my son is yet alive, have your way, and let this be glorifying your name. I thank you for it in Jesus' name. So my name is Sunstar Carlisle Peterson. I come to you today in the capacity of an apostle of Jesus Christ. A word from the first century in our times, it would simply mean ambassador of Christ. So when I stand before you, I don't stand here to speak my own words. I represent a kingdom, and I am under authority to speak only what God allows. First and foremost, I really do want to thank you again, the press corps, and all of you who have vlogs and channels on YouTube or wherever you stream from. Thank you so much for being here. I would like to thank, in fact, all of those who identify with the name Umbrella as One Umbrella. It was actually launched so that my family would not just be the ones benefiting from whatever fame or fortune, but so that all people, always, anywhere that need a shelter could come under that umbrella. That's the reason why it was launched by Daystar's brother initially, who is known as Wolfgang Peterson. So I thank all of you who have always been an encouragement to us, who have stood with us. Those of you standing here today with Free Torey t-shirts. Jono, can I have that t-shirt right there, please? Those of you who are wearing these and remembering this person, because I want you to understand that from the beginning of this, I stood as far back as 2021, and I watched where a spin doctor for the NBA, now high-powered attorney out of New York, Alex Spiro, ran a campaign to turn my son into a monster in the eyes of the world. At that point in time, God said to us, there is a time to be silent and there's a time to speak. We chose to be silent. And now we've been silent for way too long. The hour demands that we speak. One of the reasons why I stood silent is because I trusted in God, but I also did not want any blowback to affect my son, who was sitting in the belly of the beast. That's why I chose not to speak at that time. I am his father, and that is the second capacity in which I stand before you today as the spokesperson and mouthpiece for my family. Torey has 7 brothers and sisters. He has 5 brothers. He makes up the 5, I'm sorry, and there are 3 sisters. So today I would like to share a few things with you as well. I want to dispel a few rumors because I've been asked to by my son, Daystar, aka Torey Lanez. Number 1, Daystar does not have a drinking problem. He does not have a drinking problem, and that was not the reason why this situation happened. He was not out on the yard, as it was about 6:30 in the morning, and cells were just opened for them to be able to go out to breakfast. On the Thursday prior to this incident, I was called by him, and I was told of the impending threat. And my family and I huddled and did what we always do. We prayed. We get together every single day and we pray. Sometimes it is twice per day. Wherever we are in the world, at a certain time, we're on our phones and we are praying. We pray for him. We pray for you. Because our mandate is not about violence. We're not here for vendetta. We're not here for any of those things. My son, as I stood with him in the hospital room on the first day, my wife being present, said, "Dad, I'm not holding any animosity against this guy. I don't want to take any action against him. Whatever the system does, the system does." But that is his stance, and that is our stance.
Okay, hold tight. Let me go through some of these updates. We're going to go to what the attorney said. Someone said the lawyer's speech was fired. Yeah, I saw some of it last night. I have that also. Okay, so here's the latest. Cassie Ventura testified that she met Sean Diddy Combs through Ryan Leslie, a music producer that she dated for about 3 years, beginning when she was 18 or 19. But let's not forget, Cassie said on the stand yesterday that Diddy was her first adult relationship. And I told y'all, no, it wasn't. She was literally dating Ryan Leslie, and Ryan Leslie was a whole grown man when she was 18 or 19 when she started dating him, because he's like 8 years older than her. Okay, so maybe she forgot about that. I don't know. Or she doesn't consider that an adult relationship. Okay, so Leslie was about 10 years older than her. Ventura said, meaning that Combs was the second older man she dated at that point. See, this is a contradiction. I told you this lady was going there because why did she say Diddy was her first adult relationship? Also, Cassie pretended that she didn't know anything about fellatio. Y'all remember that? She was like, I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. Okay, so that was just Cassie putting on, trying to act all sweet and innocent. Now, I told you all then that she didn't need to do that as far as I'm concerned. Just tell the facts about Diddy. That's enough. Okay, so Ventura and Combs had a platonic relationship when she first signed to his company, Bad Boy Records. He supported her after a bad TV performance, and that meant a lot to her, she said. Following her 21st birthday, Ventura said that she wanted to join Combs on a trip to Miami, but she was still dating Leslie. So she testified she used a flyer for an event as an excuse to go on the trip. Okay, the jury viewed text messages between Cassie and Sean Diddy Combs from December. Now, the first ones were from August of 2009, I think. Now they're on some from December of 2009 that Cassie confirmed reflected the open communication between the two. She told defense attorney Ana Estavio that at the time she felt comfortable expressing her needs to Combs over participating in freak-offs, these rug-fueled sexual performances orchestrated by Combs. Ventura wrote in the 2009 message that she needed to feel safe, like home, to be more open with the things that we do in bed, she said. She continued to say, the last time was a mistake, but since has made me feel a little dirty and grimy as opposed to sexual and spontaneous. That's the only reason why I go back and forth in my mind with wanting and not wanting to do it. This is in the text messages. Okay, this is it right here. This is it right here because this is basically saying that she didn't want to do it. Okay, y'all hear this? Ventura wrote that when we used to freak off, when we were so in love, there were no questions asked, but she did not feel that same level of love anymore, at least. Okay, so before she was willing to do it because she was all in love with Diddy. She felt like Diddy was in love with her. But now she's feeling like Diddy's just like not giving her enough time, not paying attention to her, and possibly messing around with other people. So she feels like the love is not there. So that's why she no longer wants to do it. That's what it sounded like. Okay, and so with that all been said, hold for more updates.
Might I go a little bit further? Because this will not be the first time I've said this publicly. I bear Megan Thee Stallion no ought at all. In fact, we have prayed for her on many occasions in our times of prayer. So this monster that Alex Spiro tried to create, and when I stood in the courtroom on that day.
Now notice they said this monster that Alex Spiro tried to create. Who is Alex Spiro? Okay, that's Jay-Z's attorney. Okay, that is Jay-Z's attorney. Please pay attention.
And heard a corrupt prosecutor dismiss the fact that so many people, it was overwhelming the amount of people that sent letters to their office and were called to testify before the courts as they were considering sentence, which had already been decided. And the judge blatantly showed on that day that it really didn't matter what anybody said. It was supposed to be a forum in which it would be decided based on all the extenuating circumstances, etc. But it had already been decided behind closed doors. It's so funny that there is indeed a woman who has made it her life's mission to be the whip in the press or on the vlogs. I'm not even going to call her name right now, but those who know. Everything that has to do with Torey Lanez, I believe that she is in some way compensated to spread these narratives. And so before the sentence was read in court, she already knew. That's really interesting to me. She already knew because she had discussed it with others, not knowing that it would come back to us. God is my witness. So moving right along, Daystar did not suffer superficial wounds. He was stabbed 14 times, 5 times in his back, 1 under his left cheekbone. In fact, his jaw was open. He was stabbed twice in the back of his head, and the rest in his torso, arms, and in his chest. It may seem sensational, but thankfully, like Dr. King, it was close to his heart, but did not penetrate.
I mean, that man wanted Torey dead. And I don't think this is just happenstance. American Isn't says they tried to murk him while everyone was paying attention to the Diddy trial. Yeah, I said that a couple of days ago. I absolutely said that this, the timing of it all for me, while everybody's focused on this salaciousness of the Diddy trial, they probably figured the story about Torey being stabbed up in prison would be just, fly under the radar. That'll be buried in all of the Diddy news. Okay, and I think this was all a whole setup. I think that this man was a convicted killer who stabbed him. I think somebody got this man to do it, okay, because they knew the truth was about to come out. That's just what I think, because all of this stuff happening around the same time. Now we have new information. Torey's been stabbed right before the new information comes out. Yeah, I think it was all set up. I wonder who's behind it, Jay-Z. I have questions, but let's continue.
After that, he was being rushed to a facility nearby in a vehicle in which he said, and I quote, "Dad, I thought it was my last. And having made my peace with God, I said, okay, God, is this how it's supposed to end for me?" But God said no. God told him, "Do not give up," in the car, upon which he turned to the attending officers and he said, "You must get me to wherever is the closest place that I can get to. I'm bleeding out here." He didn't even know his lungs had collapsed. All he knows is that he couldn't breathe. He could hardly speak. Upon which the officer turned around and looked at him and said, "Nah, we got to take him. He has to be airlifted." And thankfully, to God be the glory, he was airlifted. I want to report to you that I'm very thankful to all of the attending nurses, doctors in that facility. They have done an amazing job in their professional capacity. I would also like to publicly say thank you to the COs, the correctional officers that we have seen around him. In fact, these guys have been nothing but kind to him. The system is one thing, but guess what? There are people who work in the system, and some of them still have hearts. Some of them still have a conscience. So as I'm winding down today, I would like to report to all of you who care about Daystar Peterson, the artist Torey Lanez, around the world. The reports in the hospital is that he is doing remarkably well. I was told yesterday, because they had already taken out the tubes that were draining the fluids from his lungs, they had already taken them out by the time my wife and I got there. And I was told by the nurse, in his particular condition, normally they would have had to leave those tubes in at least a couple more days. But yesterday they took him out because they said he is recovering remarkably. All that is left is for the healing of the wounds. So thank you for all the prayers that have gone up sincerely on behalf of Daystar and my family. We are truly grateful. But this is not over. So I'm reaching out to every prayer warrior around the world who knows what Christ stands for. Please continue to stand with us. As I stated before, Daystar was not drunk on that morning. It was 6:30 in the morning. It was nothing like that. It was an unprovoked attack. I don't want to go into the details of how it went, although I know them, because it is too gory to be describing right now. And so as I close today, Whatever has been needed to be said has been said. So as I close, I want to quote you David, the king of Israel, who said, "You lead me beside still waters and you restore my soul. You lead me in the path of righteousness for your name's sake. And even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." One of the officers turned to me yesterday and he said, "You would be so proud of your boy. He has been in here and he has been praying." I got there to the hospital the first day, and typical Daystar, he was entertaining those officers. They were laughing. They were just, and he said, "Dad, it only hurts to laugh." But something broke my heart yesterday when towards the end of our visit, he said, "Dad, why is it that my life has to go through so many trials? Why? Why do I have to experience this?" And that's the note that I want to close on, to tell you that this person they've been trying to paint as a monster, that they were so scared when all of those testimonies came in. People I did not even know that he had secretly done things for. This is a guy, he would do things and not even tell anybody. And one young lady called me and said, "I was struggling. I was diagnosed bipolar. I was struggling. My children said your son offered to pay my rent for 1 year while I could recover." The prosecution at the trial, when all of those testimonies came in and said, "Oh my God, you think that we were here to hand out the Nobel Peace Prize?" And that's how he dismissed it. But as I said on the court steps that day, God records all of it. And I know that my son will have justice. I lastly would like to reach out via this medium to say to the governor of the state of California, "Sir, it is in your hand to do something about this. You have the power and the means to examine the evidence that has been presented even to the courts. This is a travesty of justice. And to allow my son to go back into that same situation, a kid that when he went to prison, one of the things he has done so far is through his music to open up the cases of over 467 people through his Hands of God project to help families who can't even pay for justice on behalf of their loved ones." There was a post showed up on YouTube recently, a young man saying, "I'd like to thank Torey Lanez. I would like to thank Unite the People. I'd like to thank all of them for allowing me to be able to be taken off of 4 life sentences." 4.
Plus 74 years.
I'm sorry?
Plus 74 years.
Plus, like, I don't even understand that kind of math. How do you say to a human being whose lifespan is 70, 80, plus 74 years? 4 life sentences plus 74. This is who Daystar is, not what they've tried to make you think he is. He never stops seeking to help people, even from behind the prison walls. Governor Newsom, you have the power to bring my son home, and for all of the reasons that went before I even ascended this podium. Sir, you are a family man. You also have children. Please take a moment and look at your child and ask yourself what you would be doing if the evidence was so overwhelming. Would you think that this man should be free because he's innocent? I hope you do. And I hope you do what you need to do. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being patient with me.
Well, so there you heard it. Okay, so we're going to go to some more of that momentarily. Now, let me say this. if Kelsey did it, and she probably did because she's the only other suspect, right? And you know, the bodyguard, I believe it was the bodyguard that testified, and I don't know why they didn't say anything in the first place, or did they? I don't think he did, but he now says that there was a man and a woman, there was two women fighting, and there was two guys trying to break it up, and then there were gunshots. Okay. Now they're saying that Kelsey had that gun because her and Megan were fighting, and she's the one that fired it. They said the gun did go off. There was 4 shots fired, I believe, and then 2 more after the men tried to break it up. So here's the thing. Kelsey may have gotten immunity, but she could still be charged because there's different types of immunity. So what type of immunity did she get? Okay, that's the question, because she could actually still be charged. And if Megan lied, she needs to be charged too. There is a case that I know of where a woman lied on a man. He went to prison. Years later, it came out that she lied, and she was sent to prison for about 4 years. And because she was an immigrant from the Dominican Republic, after she was released from prison, she was sent back to the Dominican Republic. She was deported. She had a husband and a child here, and she was deported by herself. So, you know, at the end of the day, honey, if Kelsey did it, I hope she goes to prison, because that's where she needs to be. And you're going to sit there and let somebody take the fall for something you know you did, and 10 years is a whole lot of time. Now, some people said, why didn't Torey just tell the truth? He maybe thought that he was going to be found innocent of it, acquitted, because why didn't they take DNA testing on the gun? Why didn't they? And I remember when this all happened, I said, did they check everybody in that vehicle for gunpowder residue? Because that would have told the tale right there. Okay, the gunpowder residue, the DNA on the gun, and all of that, which they're now saying they didn't do. Okay, so we'll get into that later, but let's wait for some more updates. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, hold tight. Let's have a little intermission while I dig for the rest of these updates. Give me just a second.
Lights shining down in the moonlight, girl, can't help but feel this connection flow with every move. Do along the floor where you smile makes me want more. Heartbeat and sing at the sound of soul. Tonight we dance, just lose control. I can't resist. Go and take it, you move. It's doing this. Your boy's vision, like the stars above. This night is ours, wrapped in our love. The band is playing, our melody sweet, can't help but feel the rhythm in my feet, even my feet.
The jury next saw an email that Cassie Ventura sent to Sean Diddy Combs in October of 2007. Now, the last one was December of 2009. This is 2007, okay, a few weeks after her 21st birthday party. Ventura testified that the email demonstrates open communication between her and Combs, but said it was usually a one-way street. She said that she would send messages being open about her feelings more than he would. In the email, Ventura wrote saying, "We've only really had 1 week of each other just together, and I can say that it's been the best and the worst." She wrote about the things that she liked about Combs and dreaming of a beautiful future together. "Who knew I'd fall so fast?" she said. She also wrote about some negative feelings she had about their relationship, and she indicated that she felt that her friend may be better suited for Combs. "It's hard for me to handle that," she wrote. Her friend, wonder who that was. Was that Lauren London? I just have questions because y'all remember that video I did about that, right? "On the other hand, you're constantly weary of me. I'm sneaky. I've never seemed to make the right decisions to you. I'm a spoiled brat. I'm dramatic, disrespectful, and for some reason, you just don't trust me," she said. All of those things that she was saying about herself are likely things that Diddy, in fact, told her. Okay, so Cassie Ventura testified yesterday during her direct examination that she and Sean Diddy Combs agreed to settle the civil lawsuit that she filed against the music mogul in 2023 for $20 million. The defense raised the subject again today. The attorney, Ana Ostavio, asking Ventura if she thought it would be fair to say Combs' career was ruined after the lawsuit became public. She says, I could understand that. That's what Ventura said. Now, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Jennifer Rogers told CNN the prosecution would have seen this line of questioning coming, and there was a strategy being behind bringing it up during direct cross-examination. I'm sorry, during direct examination yesterday, before the defense cross-examined Ventura, saying that prosecutors always do what we call drawing the sting. So if you know there's a good point for cross-examination, you always bring it out on direct so the jury isn't surprised and they don't think, oh, prosecutors didn't tell us about this. I told you all that yesterday. I pointed that out. I said they're asking Cassie some of the things they know that she's going to be questioned about on the cross. Okay, so it won't come off as a surprise or whatever. So anyway, it goes on to say, so you're just kind of signaling to the jury, we know about this, but we still believe our witness. Okay, Rogers said that Ventura told this story in her lawsuit. She got $20 million as a result of that story. That's essentially the same story that she's telling now. So what was her incentive in bringing it in the first place? That's the bias point. So they're trying to say that Cassie told this story. She had this stuff in her lawsuit because she was trying to get money. And the only reason she's repeating it now is because she's already said it previously. And so she doesn't need to change her story or she's going to be looking like a liar. So that's basically what this is. Now, remember, the defense's job here is to paint Cassie as someone who was complicit with the stuff Diddy was doing, or someone who is not to be believed. She's not credible, that her story's changing. So they're going to be trying to catch her in lies, of course. Okay, so anyway, it's really a good point for them, Rogers said, adding that she expects the defense to hit it hard. Ventura alleged in her lawsuit that Combs raped her in 2018 and subjected her to years of repeated physical and other abuses over the course of their relationship, which Combs denied. The civil suit is separate from Combs' ongoing federal criminal trial. Now, keep in mind also that I told you all as well that Cassie's husband is going to be called by the defense to talk about what happened in 2018, and they're going to question him about Cassie being raped in 2018 by Diddy. I don't know why they're calling him, but clearly they must know that he knows something about it that can aid Diddy, I guess. Now, is he going to be a hostile witness? I would imagine he is. And remember, this is why they had him to leave the courtroom during Cassie's testimony on yesterday, as soon as it came up about any of the events that transpired in 2018. Other than that, he was allowed to stay in the courtroom. So today, they're going to bring that up, I'm pretty sure. Cassie Ventura confirmed that she and her then boyfriend, Sean Combs, had conversations about the swingers lifestyle. Now, remember, I pointed that out to you all also when Cassie first took the stand. I said, Cassie literally just used the same verbiage that Diddy did. Diddy's attorney, their whole defense is based upon the fact that none of this was forced fraud or coercion, that Cassie voluntarily did these things because they were living a swinger lifestyle. This is what they've been saying as part of their defense strategy for a couple of weeks now. And so Cassie literally used the same word, because I was like, why would she use that word specifically? That's helping Diddy, because you're admitting that y'all were swingers. Okay, so anyway, they had conversations about the swinger lifestyle and eventually saw it in person at the she saw it in person at the SEX clubs they went to. Now, that's another thing that points to Diddy's case, you know, where he's saying that it was just swinging. They were doing this stuff because they agreed upon it when she talked about them going to these SEX clubs. Okay. Defense attorney Ana Ostavio asked if the freak-offs were related to the swingers lifestyle, related in an sexual way. Yeah, Cassie said, but they're very different. Okay, so Cassie Ventura testified that she didn't remember any of Sean Diddy Combs' employees walking in while they were having a freak-off. And she said she never talked to any of his staff about them. Ventura said she definitely didn't want his employees to know about them. Ventura said Combs' assistants would often set up the hotel rooms before a freak-off, and they would at times come in a hotel room while they were staying there. But she added she doesn't have a specific recollection of staff members in the room when she was actively in a freak-off with Combs and an escort. Ventura acknowledged that she had never told her friends about the freak-offs. Okay, now this is interesting because if she's saying the staff wasn't told about the freak offs and they didn't know about it and she didn't want them to know about it, how are they involved in it, putting them in the RICO, making this a criminal organization or enterprise? This is good and juicy. We're going to have to wait and see how it all unfolds. But are y'all paying attention to these things that she's saying? Okay, are y'all paying attention to this? All right, likes up, everyone, please like and share it. Thank you in advance. Okay, so now with that all being said, as we wait for further updates, hold on here. Let me pull up something real quick. Okay, I'm going to be going to more information on Torey Lanez while we're waiting for these updates to come in.
Testified that she disguised herself with wigs and masquerade masks because while Combs was a recognizable star, she was an up-and-coming R&B singer, and neither of them wanted people.
Where's that audio coming from?
The encounter itself was pretty crazy, Cassie told jurors.
Okay, I guess that's on this video. Okay.
His lead on that because I had never done it before. Also, in today's cross-examination, Cassie grew increasingly frustrated with Combs' messages do show. Yet more messages read in court show that Cassie was growing frustrated with the state of her relationship with Combs. They weren't yet public with their courtship, and in December of 2009 email, Cassie told the hip-hop star that she needed something more from him than a sexual partnership. Responding to a sexually explicit email from Combs, Cassie wrote, "I like that. I want it, and I want to give you the same. I just think that I have to trust you beyond it just being sexual. Do you know what I mean?" The message continued. "In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home, like this is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me." Combs's lawyers are seeking to portray Cassie as a willing participant in Combs's freak-off lifestyle. And again, earlier, the defense has Cassie reading her sexually explicit messages for the jury. The sexual events Combs stage dominated much of the testimony from Tuesday and Wednesday. Now that the defense is asking about the subject and displaying text messages to the jury in an apparent effort to show Cassie's enthusiasm for them. The defense is reading Combs' part of the email and text exchanges. Recite what she wrote to him at the time. "When do you want to freak off, LOL?" Combs asked in August of 2009. "I'm always ready to freak off," she replied. 2 days later, Cassie sent an explicit message to Combs where he said, "I can't wait to watch you. I want to get you real hot." She replied, "Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable." Let's continue to get more updates here on Live Now from Fox, as really so many of you are continuing to follow along with us and getting these updates all in real time from the great court reporters that continue right now inside of the court. Let me just read out a little bit more here that we are getting. During proceedings, the prosecution requests Ventura be allowed to read the full document. The judge asked how many pages it contains. The defense says 8. When the prosecution notes there's no.
Listen, I want to thank you all for the super chats. Rev It Up Gororo, thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. I appreciate you. Okay, Pearly, thank you for gifting 5 more memberships to the channel. I appreciate you as well. Peace, love, and blessings.
A copy for the witness. The defense says those are displayed on a screen, not visible to the public. So right now, it looks like they're referencing more text messages or emails, and it looks like it's about 8 pages long that is not going to be in the public view. We are worldwide for you here on Live Now from Fox. Thanking everyone for joining us. And really, again, we are showcasing the latest that is coming from inside of court. I'm your host, Mike Page. Great to be with you here for day 4. And really, this is probably the most in-demand day, really a couple of days, because the defense said that they were going to cross-examine Cassie through at least the end of the day tomorrow. But we are seeing really the defense trying to play up the role in front of jurors, showing that Cassie was not really forced into these sex acts with sex workers, but that she enjoyed it, that she was a willing participant and was not only engaging in these sex acts with sex workers, but was craving them. And also getting ready for the next time that they can do it, talking about and showcasing some of the text messages where Diddy is asking, when do you want to have another freak off? And she says, whenever is best possible. And then saying that she wants it to be uncontrollable. So again, these are some major takeaways that the defense right now is showcasing to the jury to try to put that doubt in the juror's mind. Remember, they only need one juror to have that doubt of saying,
just one.
Sean is what seems to be not a very nice guy. We saw him on video beating and really berating and dragging and kicking sometimes Cassie. And it seems that domestic violence is big for him and has been a big part of his life. But it does seem like Cassie has been involved in this and wanted to be a part of this. I know the prosecution was trying to showcase the other side of it. That might be what a juror could be thinking at this moment. Remember, the defense just needs one juror to say what I was just kind of alluding to. So let's again show you more from outside of the court right now. Again, you are watching here with us. I know. Let's just ask our great viewers in the chat right now. What are you thinking at this moment? Do you think that the defense is doing a good job of cross-examination of Cassie? Let me know inside of the chat there. We'll read some of those messages out in just a little bit, but I want to get your take.
I think they're doing a good job thus far. Lana says, thank you for being a member for 9 months, beloved. Says, great reporting, queen. Keep applying pressure. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now, here's the thing. They're doing a pretty good job thus far. Okay, even though Ana Estavio is not, who I would have chosen. But nonetheless, she's doing a pretty good job. And here's the thing. Like he said, they only need one to have a doubt about Cassie's story. Now, here's what it's sounding like. It's sounding like that Cassie, if we go through her testimony from yesterday to what she said thus far today, it sounds like Cassie was fine with doing the freak-offs as long as Diddy was doing what she wanted him to do. And then when Diddy wasn't doing what she wanted him to do, like not showing her attention, spending time with her, messing around with other women, then that's when it was a problem. And that does make sense to me. But at the end of the day, it does sound like she was complicit in some of these freak-offs. Okay. I mean, when she's telling him, I want to F oh so bad, like what was testified to yesterday. Okay. She said that she was saying that because that's the only time she got to spend time with Diddy. Okay. But as extreme as some of the things were that they were doing during the freak-offs, like people putting waterworks in your mouth and you having sores and UTIs and all that stuff, that sounds like a huge sacrifice to make just so you can spend time with Diddy, because I wouldn't have wanted any parts of it. This is all just so egregious. I'm just going to see how it all pans out. It looks like Estavio is doing a pretty good job right now. She's not badgering the witness. She's not going in so hard on Cassie. She's just asking her the questions nicely and being very polite in doing so, which is all good. Now, the thing that's going to really cast doubt, if any, to any of the jurors would definitely be the text messages and the videos, because the prosecution didn't show the sexual videos, the freak-off videos. They didn't show that. They only showed screenshots or still shots of some of it. I have a feeling the defense is going to show the actual videos, because the defense has already stated that if you see those videos, then you know it's complicit, that there was no force, fraud, or coercion. That's what they're saying, or they said prior to the trial getting started. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen if and when they do play those videos. Okay, so let's keep listening, because he's getting updates a lot quicker than I am, because he's actually working for a news station.
15 years, some of them dozens of pages long. The defense confronted Cassie Ventura with a message that she sent to Sean Combs about particularly enjoying the portion of a freak-off where she had sex with a male escort. I like those times, Ventura wrote. I love when we make love after. The last time was so good. Messages like these could support the defense argument that Ventura consented to all of her sexual activities with Combs, including freak-offs and group sex sessions that prosecutors contend she was told to and forced into. The defense might also suggest to the jury that Ventura changed her attitude about the freak-offs when she saw an opportunity for a payday. Yesterday, Ventura testified that Combs paid her $20 million to drop a sexual assault lawsuit she filed back in 2023, years after they broke up. The defense concedes that Combs physically abused Ventura on multiple occasions, but argue that he has not been charged with domestic violence, and a violent relationship is not evidence for the government's sex trafficking charges.
Y'all are clowning the reporter.
More key updates here on Live Now from Fox that we're able to pass on to you. We are going to keep you updated as we get more information. Stay right here with us.
All right, so we sure will stay right here. So with that all being said, I'm gonna pull up this Torey Lanez info. Hold on. This is the press conference, the full press conference. I'm going to fast forward. Okay, I'm going to fast forward this. Oh, hold on. Let me see what they're talking about.
Yeah, Andy, I think as powerful as yesterday was, obviously listening to Cassie recount some of these horrific things that she says she went through, incredibly powerful. I mean, for me, you listen on Monday to the prosecution and the defense frame this in two very different ways. The prosecutors, presented this as if this was somebody in Cassie who was at a enormous power disadvantage, who was forced, who was coerced into doing these things over a 10-year period that she did not want to do. On the other side, though, Andy, you had the defense that said this. It may be behavior that you would not do in your bedroom, the proverbial bedroom, but that at the end of the day, this were two adults, consenting adults, making a decision to engage in this behavior. And then to listen to Cassie on the stand today, and for her to say that Diddy not only used videos of these freak-off parties that she said sometimes lasted for 4 days, that he used this video to essentially control her and manipulate her and make her do these freak-offs again and again and again against her will, and used physical violence as well, in her words. It really is a stark, different image than what the defense said it would be.
Yeah, that is the two contrasting storylines. And you mentioned some of this, the PTSD that she sustained, the overwhelming amount that it continued to consume her, or even as she went on to have several kids, obviously bury her husband in the courthouse today. I ask you about that lawsuit, because the revealing of the $20 million feels pretty big, and we're going to hear more about it during cross-examination.
Yeah.
Can you get into that, the price tag of this, and what do we make of the lawsuit, and how important it could be to this trial?
Incredibly important, and I think it's important in that without that lawsuit, I think there's a great chance that Diddy is not sitting where he is sitting, and we're not having this conversation now, Andy, because I think it's possible that charges would never have even been brought here. I think the reality is that Cassie filing that lawsuit got the ball rolling in a big way and in a meaningful way. And people started to pay attention once you had this other person who, fine, is not the level of star that Diddy is, but that has a lot of fans and that people pay attention when she spoke. And I think her bringing that lawsuit, despite the fact that it was settled very quickly, and now we know for $20 million, which is no small amount of money. I think without that, I'm really not sure that we're here today. I think it's possible that charges would have never been filed. So from that standpoint, and the people that have allegedly been victimized over the years, in a way, Cassie may have gotten them justice by filing that civil lawsuit.
Yeah, that is a very good point. She said she just felt like she needed to do it. Maybe even when she filed it, she didn't know she would be at this point in time testifying before this case in a federal courthouse against Sean Diddy Combs, who she said, even though she was allegedly raped by him as she tried to break it off, still said she didn't really have hate for him, which is very interesting. Another point that I want to bring up is that we haven't heard some of the names, other celebrity names, as much as people might have envisioned during this testimony. Only Kid Cudi and his involvement. Are you surprised by that as well?
A little bit, because I think the speculation had always been that there were a lot of celebrities at these freak-off parties, that they were almost these A-list exclusive parties where you'd have stars all over the place with these crazy things happening. Well, the reality, at least from what we've heard so far, Andy, is that it wasn't that they were involving Cassie and a lot of times random sex workers that, in fact, they found on Craigslist. These were not people who were famous in their own right. They were perfect strangers to Cassie and to Diddy. And I think it goes against what the perception was of these parties. So, yeah, I have been surprised. And that's not to say that it doesn't change, that there aren't celebrities named. You brought up Kid Cudi, and that's because they told a story of Diddy finding out that she had been having a physical relationship with Kid Cudi, and that Diddy just flew off the handle allegedly when he found this out. And she said threatened her with a wine opener, with a corkscrew, and then ended up beating her.
Okay, I'm going to go to Torey Lanez while we wait for further updates. And somebody said they heard yesterday was boring. Yeah, I heard the same thing. And it was a little boring, even for us following it, because at the end of the day, the prosecution was going very lightly, like tiptoeing around things. They were very careful about how they questioned Cassie, okay, because they were, of course, not trying to do the defense any favors. Okay, so today it'll be more exciting because the defense, they're not trying to do Cassie any favors. Okay, so now I'm going to go to this Torey Lanez video, and we'll go back to this momentarily.
All right, everybody. First off, my name is Caesar McDowell. I am the CEO and co-founder of Unite the People. We're a nonprofit organization that promotes social justice as well as provides affordable legal services for the underserved community here in the state of California. Today, we want to thank everybody for coming out, all of the press, all of the fans, everyone that's here today. We want to say thank you for coming. Today, we're going to hear some really, really compelling new evidence that you've never heard before. Our legal team will explain all of that to you. We will have updates on Torey Lanez, Mr.
Hold on, let me read a couple of comments real quick. Rev It Up Gororo says, what about all the things that I guess you're talking about Jaguar said? I wonder if that'll be brought up. No, that won't be brought up. Anything that she said won't be brought up unless she was to testify. Because if she's not there to testify and say those things herself, it's not going to be brought up because that's called hearsay, and hearsay is not admissible in court. Okay, so yeah, those things won't be brought up. Lorraine says, if I was Diddy's defense, I'll put so much pressure on Cassie, she'll go into labor because they know she's lying. Okay.
Mr. Peterson on how he's doing. It's really sad to see the situation that he's in. And we think it's time, enough is enough. It's time to bring the brother home. So with that, I would like to bring up our lead consultant, Mr. Walter Roberts.
Good morning. We are here today to bring to your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory in Mr. Daystar Peterson's case, professionally known as Torey Lanez. Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell. Unite the People represents Daystar Peterson in his appellate process. We filed an appellate brief and a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf. The district attorney's office has already responded. The case is fully briefed. We're just waiting for the appellate court's decision. We were willing to wait for the appellate process to play out, but given that brutal, unprovoked attack, we felt it necessary to come here today to provide you with this information. It is our intention to make a request to the governor to either pardon or commute the sentence of Mr. Peterson, so that when he recovers from this attack, he's not returned to a jail cell, but that he's allowed to go home and recover. Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Ms. Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Ms. Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Ms. Pete, did not shoot at Ms. Pete, or did not assault Ms. Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Ms. Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense? We don't know. it should have been taken. It is unite the people's understanding, regular LAPD practice at a crime scene like that. Anybody who's there, the DNA is taken. Another irregularity. Why, at Ms. Harris's police interview, was a non-lawyer, non-family member record company executive allowed to participate? Highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction. It is our contention that he was wrongly convicted. And while we at first were willing to let the process play out, it is our contention now that if he is not pardoned or released promptly, he may never come out. And that would be the ultimate injustice, is that he gets killed in prison for something he did not do. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Gianno Caldwell, a media member who was working on that op-ed for the New York Post. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Good morning. Thank you for coming today. My name is Gianno Caldwell. That is spelled Gianno, Caldwell, Caldwell. I am the founder of the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety at caldwellinstitute.org. I am also a member of the press for almost a decade now. I've been looking into Daystar Peterson's case for almost 6 months now, professionally known as Torey Lanez. And after reviewing the evidence, the reporting, and the legal analysis, I've come to the conclusion that Torey Lanez was railroaded by the former district attorney, George Gascon. He was also wrongly convicted. I believe if Jesus Christ was Torey Lanez's attorney, George Gascon would do whatever in his power to ensure that Torey Lanez lost that case. Torey Lanez's defense team have alleged the withholding of exculpatory evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, among other issues that I was compelled to write an opinion piece for the New York Post. It is true that last week, the New York Post editors reached out to 3 parties, one being George Gascon, Megan Pete's team, and Kelsey Harris. It is also true that Megan's team was the only ones that responded back for that request for comment.
We took our brand new software company ListKit, sent 10,000 cold emails per day, and hit 108,000.
I had some glaring questions, and that was the reason for this op-ed. Things didn't make any sense to me, many issues in this case, and I was shocked by the lack of interest from the media to ask very simple questions. There were multiple people with gunshot residue on their hands that night. Why didn't all individuals have the residue tested, their DNA tested on the weapon?
That is a very significant question. I literally can't believe that this whole thing was a setup and a cover-up, okay? Because there is no way that there's gunshots fired. There's multiple people in the vehicle or they're at the scene, and you mean to tell me the police didn't test everyone there for gunpowder residue? They didn't test them to see whose DNA matched that was found on the gun. And remember, they said there was unknown DNA on the gun. Okay? So with that all being said, Roddy says, wonder what he did in prison for a Mexican hitter to try and take his life. He didn't do anything, beloved. They already said it was unprovoked. I mean, in prison, do you have to do anything for someone to try to take you out? No. There are some people who have life sentences and they don't give a darn. They don't have anything to lose as far as they're concerned. They may just not like you, or maybe you looked at them the wrong way and then they try to take you out. Who knows? But I don't think that it was just by happenstance, like I told you. Somebody put him up to it as far as I'm concerned. This is all happening right around the same time. And not to mention, didn't he just say that they reached out to Megan and some other people last week and they had questions? Okay, so I believe people knew that the truth was going to come out, okay, and that this was going to happen this week. And so now somebody tried to have him taken up out of here. Now, that's just what I think. But let's continue.
That's a legitimate question. According to the prosecution, Torey was excluded from the clip of the gun And according to Torey's defense team, they said DNA analysis showed that there was a 0.01% chance that Torey touched the actual gun itself. Another piece that stood out to me, the call that the prosecution alleged Torey made confessing to a crime. I listened to that call. I'm sure many of you have as well. I didn't hear a confession. But what really shocked me about it is if my best friend was shot maliciously by someone just 2 to 3 hours before, I wouldn't have answered the call, or if I did, I wouldn't calmly have a conversation with the individual of it. And certainly I would ask, why did you shoot my friend? And more importantly, I would never have given you my current location out of fear of you finishing the job. That was something that stood out to me. I also, in my op-ed, discussed Kelsey Harris pleading the Fifth Amendment. She wasn't accused of anything by Megan Pete or the police, and to my knowledge, she wasn't under any investigation. So why plead the Fifth? What also shocked me is the prosecution gave her immunity. For what? What did she do? Is there an allegation of her doing something?
This is all very interesting. Some of you may remember that while this was going on, I had a former police officer on here, and me and him were going back and forth because I didn't agree with him. I thought that Torey did it. And he was telling me, no, it doesn't. From the evidence, it doesn't look like he did it. Now, mind you, I didn't keep up with the trial and all that. I wasn't watching the trial. And I was just going by the news reports and things that Megan was saying when she was on CBS with Gayle King and when she was doing these Instagram videos. I'm listening to her and I'm thinking, why the hell would she lie and say this man shot her if he didn't? Okay, at the time, I also didn't know about the beef between Jay-Z and Torey. Okay, the whole thing with Rock Nation. I didn't know anything about that. So clearly he knew more about what he was talking about and I should have listened. Okay, but now here we are. All right, so sometimes, you know, things aren't always what they seem, because now I have a whole nother opinion. Okay, Roddy said it's been an all-out assault on Black celebrities, whether they're guilty or innocent. I absolutely agree. And Black male celebrities.
I'm not aware of that. Maybe some of you can answer that question today. During the time of trial, George Gascon, just to take you back to where we were at that particular point, he had just barely won a recall attempt. He lost support in many key demographics of voters. Crime was up in Los Angeles County. And this case would have been a silver bullet for him potentially winning. His policies obviously were bad and people were harmed. So that didn't happen, and thank God it didn't happen. At the heart of this injustice is the misuse of gun enhancement charges, a sentencing tool intended for the most dangerous and violent offenders. In Torey Lanez's case, these enhancements were not supported by evidence. But George Gascon, interestingly enough, who is someone who regularly would drop enhancements or not recommend them, chose to provide enhancements to Torey. And in his case, in any given situation, according to legal analysts I've spoken with, he would do 1 or 3 years if he did it.
Okay, so here are the latest updates. By the way, the court has adjourned for lunch. Okay, they have gone to lunch. So let's get in here and see what's going on. Now, usually at this juncture of the day, I usually end the broadcast and start another one. So that's what I'm going to be doing. After we listen to a little bit more of this, I'm going to take a break and I'll start another live before they come back from court. Okay, so that all being said, okay, so Cassie Ventura confirmed her previous testimony that Sean Diddy Combs would frequently call her incessantly if she didn't answer the phone. She said there were a million things that could trigger this, and she gave an example of not telling him where she was. Defense attorney Ana Estavio asked why she thought Combs was concerned about this. She said, I think because he would assume I was cheating, she testified, but added that he would call her for other reasons too. Now, while she was being questioned by prosecutors, Cassie Ventura testified that Sean Diddy Combs had strong opinions about her physical appearance and controlled what she wore. Ventura said during cross-examination that she would send him photos of her clothing. Astavio says, do you believe that Mr. Combs has good taste? She said, I think he does, yeah. Astavio also asked Ventura if she thought Combs had an impact on fashion and culture. Ventura said she did. Okay, so the court has taken a break for lunch, and they're going to resume at 1 o'clock. So that's in almost 30 minutes. Okay, so let's listen to a bit more of this. While you all are listening, I'm going to be making my link for the next broadcast.
Without the enhancement. That's interesting. Why did George Gascon choose to pursue these enhancements? You know, there's cases I've been looking through which George Gascon has pursued, many in which he utilized these enhancements. A couple come to mind that I would like to reference here. One, Raymond Danger Gonzalez, a Mexican mafia gang member involved in a premeditated murder of 2 young men in 2017. Despite the brutality of the crime, Gascon didn't recommend enhancements. You premeditated murdered a teenager and another individual, brutal crime. Why would you recommend enhancements, but you would recommend them for Torey? That doesn't make a lot of sense. He also didn't pursue sentencing enhancements for the senseless murder of General Hospital actor Johnny Whitaker in Los Angeles in 2024. There's a lot of issues with this case. Many, I think, that the media should be pursuing all angles of it. We should not allow there to be unanswered questions. We should pursue open questions without fear or favor to anyone. That includes Mr. Torey Lanez. In his letter from the Birmingham jail, Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we take those words seriously, we must act when injustice is allowed to fester in plain sight." I founded the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety after my innocent teenage brother was murdered in Chicago on June 24, 2022. I stand firmly for public safety, for victims' rights, and for holding criminals accountable. But justice also demands that we protect the innocent and stand against politically motivated prosecutions. This is what I believe to happen here. When we imprison the innocent while violent offenders walk free, which is what George Gascon has often done, we undermine the very foundation of our legal system. Mr. Peterson was never given a fair trial, free from bias, political interference, and media-driven pressure. His continued incarceration erodes public trust and diverts focus from the real work of keeping our community safe. Further, while incarcerated, Mr. Peterson was recently stabbed in prison, as many of you know, a tragic incident that underscores the urgency of this situation and the risk to his life while this case remains unaddressed. Governor Newsom, I respectfully urge you to issue a pardon for Daystar Peterson, known as Torey Lanez, in a full and impartial review of his case. California must not be a state where justice is driven by headlines instead of evidence. And in the case of George Gascon, that was often the case. So I encourage everyone here to go to caldwellinstitute.org, CALDWELL, Institute, INSTITUTE.org, and sign the petition. This petition asks for the governor to pardon Torey Lanez. Thank you.
Today we are setting up this Chick-fil-A employee for anything she wants.
You could pick any item you want. I'll go get it for you.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I know there's a lot of noise in the media going on with other stories, but I think that this is one of the most important stories happening right now today regarding our Justice Department. My name is Diana London. I'm the CEO of the Secret Weapon Agency, which is a crisis communication firm. And I'm also the CEO of a company called London Global Strategies. I am a member of the media as well. I'm a commentator on a few networks. And I also serve as an advisor for Giano's Institute and also another company called Promising People that is fighting to reduce the recidivism rate in this country and also to correct our criminal justice laws. As a woman who has worked in Congress on criminal justice reform, I deeply believe in law and order. I've worked alongside law enforcement. I've drafted policy to reduce violent crime. I've seen what accountability should look like. But I also know the legal system without integrity is no justice at all. When we get it wrong, when our courts fail the people they're meant to protect, we don't just ruin lives. We erode trust in the rule of law itself. That's why I'm speaking out today for Daystar Peterson, better known to the world as Torey Lanez. This isn't about fame. It isn't about celebrity. It's about fairness. Torey Lanez doesn't want special treatment. He's demanding equal treatment. And if we Americans still believe in a system where guilty must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, then we must admit this case raises serious concerns. Because the truth is, Torey Lanez is serving a 10-year sentence for a crime the evidence, which laid out here today, overwhelmingly suggests he did not commit. Let's go back to the night in question, just like Gianna was just talking about in the attorneys. As the attorneys laid out here today, the prosecution failed to produce a single shred of forensic evidence tying Torey to the actual gun. His fingerprints weren't on it. His DNA was later found to be 100% nearly excluded from the gun, as shown in the worksheet that was provided to the defense late on the eve of the actual trial. After making a...
Okay, so let me just say that would be absolutely impossible if he was the trigger man. Do y'all hear this? Almost 100% excluded. Okay, please pay attention. How would that be possible if he was the one who fired the gun more than once? There's no way Torey did it, period. There's no way he did it. Okay, this is all real crazy. This man sitting in prison, almost lost his life for nothing, for something he didn't even do. Okay, please pay attention. Somebody needs to pay for this.
Request for that very document. After trial, looking at this evidence, there is a 0.01% chance Torey's DNA was on the firearm. That's a difficult statistic to equate with the story as told by the prosecution, which may be why this was not present in trial. In fact, there were 3 people that night at the scene who tested positive for gunshot residues. One of those was Kelsey Harris, as Gianno mentioned, the assistant to Megan Pete. According to multiple sworn testaments that you've heard today, including one from the bodyguard and driver with Harris on the 2 days of the trial, Harris admitted to firing the weapon during an emotional outburst. Torey intervened to de-escalate, not to harm. It is important to note, the police did not fingerprint anyone else who had gunshot residue on them that night, only Torey. Why? Even more troubling, the investigation itself was a disaster. Bullet fragments disappeared. The gun's serial number was sealed, a move that blocked the defense from investigating ownership. Police failed to follow standard procedures. Why? Didn't mark shell casings on the road and didn't test others involved that night with DNA. This wasn't justice. It was a rush to judgment. Worse still, the prosecution knew the case was thin. So what did they do? They tacked on gun enhancements, just like they spoke about. The charges, these gun enhancements are meant for gang shootouts and armed robberies to inflate the charges and turn a flimsy accusation into a decade-long prison sentence. Enhancements are a powerful tool against violent offenders, but using them in a case with no forensic evidence, murky testimony, and the defendant with no criminal history, that's very important to point out. He had no criminal history. That's not justice. That's a political stunt. Let's be blunt. This prosecution had everything to do with headlines and very little to do with truth. It was about symbolism, not substance. And that should concern every single one of you here today and in this country. Because when the facts take a back seat to identity, when due process is sacrificed for public spectacle, we all lose. Just yesterday, a Los Angeles court ruled the Menendez brothers, who brutally murdered their parents, are now eligible for parole after serving 35 years. They admitted to the crime. Torey Lanez, who killed no one and has still remained his innocent today, whose case is riddled with inconsistencies and prosecutorial failures, is expected to serve a decade. How is that justice? I've worked in federal criminal justice policy. I helped pass the First Step Act during President Trump's first term. I've spent years focusing on ending recidivism, building rehabilitation pipelines, and protecting the innocent from institutional overreach. I didn't fight for reform just to see the system weaponized against someone because he's famous or inconvenient. And let's be clear. If a high-profile Black man with no
I've already posted the link. We're going to be starting back. I'm about to end this. We're going to come back at 1:10. Okay. Mama Joycelyn says, I didn't follow this trial, but I see some people saying that Torey went to jail for gun possession. Not sure how true. Perhaps they are Megan Horse's friends. Here's the thing. He was a felon, I do believe, and he wasn't supposed to be in possession of a gun. That's not why he's in jail. He's in prison because they said that he shot Megan Thee Stallion. If that were the case, we wouldn't be having a whole press conference. Okay, at the end of the day, the bottom line is some people will absolutely want to paint Torey as guilty or say he shouldn't have had a gun. Well, he shouldn't have had a gun if he was a felon. But the bottom line is, did he shoot Megan? Now, there are questions, and it's not looking like it. The math is not math, and it's not adding up. And at the end of the day, we all know, and I've told you all who've been following me, I've told you 1,000 times. Let's not forget I went to school, and I have 2 degrees in criminal justice. I know how this system is so foul and corrupt, and we all should know, just as being Black people. At the end of the day, this was all about exactly what she said. Okay, because we already know that when somebody commits a crime, if there is a celebrity that's well known that's in the mix anywhere, even if they didn't do anything, the media wants the attention focused on them to have the headlines reading in a more salacious way, a more salacious narrative to get more views. We already know that, more publicity. So let's just think about, for example, Michael Vick with the dog fights. Michael Vick wasn't even there at the House of Virginia. Those were his cousins and people he knew that were there doing that. But Michael Vick's the one that goes to prison. Okay, just make it all make sense. These are the things that happen. Okay, at the end of the day, I've told you all 1,000 times about prosecutorial misconduct. That's exactly what seems to have gone on here, in my opinion. Prosecutorial misconduct, not to mention a lot of lies. Was there forensic evidence that was hidden, covered up, or thrown away? I think so. Because how are you going to say that this man's DNA, okay, was basically not on the gun? Other people had gunpowder residue, because obviously they did do the gunpowder residue testing. And so these other people had gunpowder residue, and they weren't even asked, they weren't held as suspects. Okay, they weren't investigated. And then you also have to ask, why was Kelsey granted immunity? The person who's granted immunity usually is the one who has some blood on their hands or some dirt on their hands, because otherwise, why do you need immunity if you didn't do anything? That makes no sense. Okay, so please pay attention. At the end of the day, I think it's all a sham, and we're going to find out, hopefully, all of the truth is hopefully going to come out. Okay, whether you like Torey Lanez or not, he is a Black man who has possibly been wrongly convicted. That could be anyone that looks like me. Okay, so let's not sit here and be all in our feelings. Let's examine the facts. Thank you, Nicole, beloved. And thank you for the last question. Okay, or the last comment. Nicole says, Queen's content deliverance helps your mind to stay prepared. Hashtag mind preparation. Hashtag pay attention. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. So listen, I'm going to close out. I've already posted the link for the next broadcast. We're going to be right back at it. Okay, we don't want to miss a thing. It's going to get only juicier as the day goes on. They're just getting started. Now, here's the thing. As I've been telling you, the prosecution's job is to provide the burden of proof. It's on the prosecution, since they're the accusers. They have to have burden of proof. Okay, it's for them to drive it home, but the defense has to create a reasonable doubt. That's on them, and they only need one. Okay, someone said Diddy needs at least 2 or 3 jurors. No, you only need one. Okay, you only need one. If it's one holdout, then you have a hung jury. You have a mistrial. Okay, and at the end of the day, here's the thing: win, lose, or draw, even if Diddy gets convicted, Diddy is going to appeal this, and he has a very good case upon appeal, because I already told you guys, Diddy has the same thing going on in his trial that Harvey Weinstein had going on in his trial. Harvey Weinstein got his conviction overturned. He was granted a new trial. Diddy just might do the same, because here they go in this trial. The prosecution has already allowed people to come in that are going to, they haven't testified yet, but there's people that's going to testify in this trial about Diddy's prior bad acts. And that's not good, because that's how you can absolutely turn around and get the case overturned, even if Diddy's convicted. That's what happened to Harvey Weinstein. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back at 1:10. All right. I love you all to life. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all after the break. Go and get your snacks, go get your water, your drinks, whatever, because we're going to be right back, and we're going to be here all day until the court is convened, just as we have been on every day. All right. Love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got